Wednesday, May 9th, 2018, morning session of the Portland City Council. Carla, please call the roll.
Fish.
Here.
Saltzman.
Here.
Udaley.
Here.
Britt.
Here.
Wheeler.
Here. It's always a surprise, Commissioner.
Good morning. Good morning and welcome to the Portland City
Good to
Council.
see you, Dan.
The City Council represents all Portlanders and meets to do the city's business. The presiding officer preserves order and decorum during the City Council meetings so everyone can feel welcome, comfortable, respected, and safe. To participate in council meetings, you may sign up in advance with the council clerk's office for communications to briefly speak about any subject. You may also sign up for public testimony on resolutions or the first reading of ordinances. Your testimony should address the matter being considered at the time. When testifying, please state your name for the record. Your address is not necessary. Please disclose if you are a lobbyist. If you are representing an organization, please identify it. The presiding officer determines the length of testimony. Individuals generally have 3 minutes to testify unless otherwise stated. When you have 30 seconds left, a yellow light goes on. When your time is done, a red light goes on. If you are in the audience and would like to show your support for something that is said, please feel free to do a thumbs up. If you would like to express that you do not support something, please feel free to do a thumbs down. Disruptive conduct, such as shouting or interrupting testimony or council deliberations, will not be allowed. If there are disruptions, a warning will be given that further disruption may result in the person being ejected for the remainder of the meeting. After being ejected, a person who fails to leave the meeting is subject to arrest for trespass. Thank you for helping your fellow Portlanders feel welcome, comfortable, respected, and safe.
Thank you very much. Obviously, Eli was being very efficient with his time this morning. First items are communications. Carla, could you please call the first individual up?
Item 431, request of Paul Rippey to address council regarding proposed expansion of I-5 in the Rose Quarter.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. I'm Paul Rippey. I live in St. John's, and I wrote you a song. Induced demand. In the 60s, we built the interstate. In the 70s and 80s, they were working great. In the 90s and aughts, we said, well, let's add another lane. And now, by God, they want to do it again. But it should be clear the system is broken, and adding more lanes is just a futile token, because the thing we need to understand is induced demand. Oh, we all like to drive around town, but you can't help noticing how much it's slowed down. And adding more lanes is never done, because if we build them, they will come. And the thing we need to understand is induced demand. I wish Tom McCall were still alive. He tore down Harbor Drive, and now Dennis Buchanan has gone away. He blocked the Mount Hood Expressway. But don't let us ever forget that these brave people took a lot of shit. People of courage, people of goodwill. Well, I know we've got that kind of leader still, but the thing they need to understand is induced demand. Oh, I know we'll need more buses and Macs. That's just the hard, cold facts. But the way to get the highways off our backs is with a comprehensive congestion tax. And the thing we need to understand is induced demand. In the 60s, we built the interstate. Let's stop the madness now before it's too late. And the thing we need to understand is induced demand.
Thank you, sir.
Can we suspend the rules?
And I believe
50 seconds
the
left.
next two would like to come up together. Is that correct? 432 and 433, please, Carla.
432, request of Alan Kessler to address council regarding transit improvements. And 433, request of Paul Lightman to address council regarding transit improvements.
I promised Paul he could watch the person in front of him to see how this goes, so.
Good morning, Mayor Wheeler and Commissioners.
Morning. I'm not sure the mic is on. Can you check and make sure the light's on? It's good? Okay, sorry.
Good morning, Mayor Wheeler and Commissioners. My name is Paul Lightman. I am a co-chair of the Portland Bus Lane Project. With the new funding TriMet is receiving, it is positioned to make significant investments in transit service. By the middle of next decade, it can expect to receive at least $40 million of additional funding from HB 2017.
I'm sorry, if you could back up from it.
Back up.
Actually, thanks.
By the middle of next decade, it can expect to receive at least $40 million in additional funding from HB 2017 and $43 million from the payroll tax annually. This is great news for the region, but especially for Portland. Transit use in our city accounts for 7/10 of TriMet's ridership. We have most of the region's frequent bus lines, and we have the highest concentration of homes and jobs, which makes transit viable. It is critical that we seize this opportunity to advance our mode split goals. Although Portland will not directly spend these funds, our cooperation and leadership is essential to deploying them effectively. The City of Portland needs to commit to improving and critically reapportioning its streets to get buses out of car congestion. People who have a choice will only choose to take the bus if it is reliable, fast, and frequent. It has to be reliable and hassle-free. And that is why we are asking the City of Portland to prioritize transit on our city's streets. It should be as invisible to the end user as Portland Water Bureau services are to its residents. TriMet provides the service for the region, but it is up to the individual cities to ensure the road network is sufficient for that service to operate quickly and reliably. If Portland is to reduce its greenhouse gas emissions, reduce congestion, reduce the cost of living, and provide increased connectivity to jobs and services for all its residents, transit is a necessity. If buses are stuck in the same traffic caused by vehicles, and if buses are not reliable and dependable, people will continue to drive cars. This will be true despite the expenditure of tens of millions of dollars. None of this is news to you. This council has already identified transit as an integral part of Portland's transportation future. The 2035 Transportation System Plan has several policies that identify the importance of transit. For example, Policy 9.22 indicates that the city will create conditions that make transit the preferred mode of travel for trips that are not made by walking or bicycling. And Policy 9.24 says Portland should develop a public transportation system that conveniently, safely, comfortably, and equitably serves residents and workers 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The plan also identifies a transit priority program that is meant to improve transit speed, reliability, safety, and access. Now it is time for you to act on these policy statements and help Portland live up to its vision as a city that prioritizes people over vehicles. Please be bold. We are asking for 4 commitments: bus lanes, traffic signal improvements, walkability and accessibility, and stop rebalancing. First, focus on implementing bus lanes and queue jumps to provide riders with a congestion-free bus trip. This would improve the speed of service, save TriMet money, and increase ridership. The Draft Enhanced Transit Corridors Plan indicates TriMet spends between $1 and $2 million extra each year to keep up with increased congestion. Travel times on Portland's busiest bus lines have increased by more than 7% over the past decade due to the congestion. Dedicated bus lanes and queue jumps are an inexpensive solution that can dramatically improve transit service.
The second improvement we'd ask you to look at.
Could you just state your name?
Oh,
for
I'm
the
sorry.
record? Sorry.
Mayor, my name is Alan Kessler.
Thanks, Alan.
The second improvement we ask you to look at is traffic and signal improvements. We should increase the number of traffic signals that hold the green light for buses. Traffic signals slow down buses and reduce reliability. Holding the signal will make the trips faster, more dependable. Director Treat has testified here that buses will move 100 times as many people as cars, and that should be our goal. Allowing one bus to get through reduces travel times for many people. And to make full advantage of this investment, we think that the city should move all stops that are located on the near side of signals with these improvements to the far side. So the bus can get through the end of the signal and then do its load-unload process. For walkability and accessibility, importantly, East Portland does not have a connection network. There's not safe infrastructure to give people in East Portland, especially, a world-class transit system. The GTC plan, the Growing Transit Communities Plan, has identified this as a problem, and we encourage the city to use this across the city, use the same methodology. The fourth point is stop rebalancing. In my privileged neighborhood of Richmond, our stops are far too frequent, and we have plenty of sidewalks, we have plenty of connectivity, and you should take away or move around the stops to let buses get through that region faster. As soon as East Portland has the same level of connectivity, you should do the same thing there. Likewise, the entire city. Where buses are stopping every 2 blocks, we should extend that and we should move the stops to locations so that we can improve the level of service, improve the quality of transit service, rather. These aren't novel suggestions. These are all part of the policy proposals you already have. But in order to make sure that these are happening, you have to take a more active role. This body needs to take a more active role in overcoming institutional inertia, especially at the Department of Transit. I want to talk about a recent opportunity. I've mentioned this before, but this is an opportunity the city missed to dramatically improve transit in the city. On the west end of the Hawthorne Bridge, it's a mess. There's car, bus, bike congestion. There's a weave that goes on. And recently we spent $500,000 to fix the pavement there and made no configuration changes. I talked about this at the time, and then I talked to Director Treat at the time, and when nothing was done, I followed up with a public records request to sort of see the decision process. And I've attached 3 emails that I'd encourage you to look through that I got out of that I think summarize that Director Treat is trying to implement the policies you're giving her, but engineers are conservative. And unless you give them things to measure, they're gonna measure vehicle trips. We're gonna hear things like, we need more public outreach. We need more traffic modeling. We need more capacity analysis, meaning single occupancy vehicle capacity, before we can do anything for bikes or buses or other modes. Those concerns never come up when we're making car improvements. Thanks.
Very good. Thank you. I appreciate that. Could you just clarify one point? I want to make sure I understood it. Moving stops to the far side, you mean through the stoplight, is that correct? So you would stop after you've gone through the stoplight?
Yes, so
Very good.
that location at 2nd and Main westbound is a really great example of that. Years ago, right after 9/11, the federal government asked us to move that stop to the east side of 2nd. And because of that, the bus gets stuck behind a row of cars trying to turn right, and those cars get stuck behind pedestrians trying to cross the street. And I've watched 3 cycles go by before the bus moves. That could be fixed by moving the bus over in front of the courthouse.
Thank you both. This is a great document. I appreciate it. Thank you. Next individual is, let's say, Bree Kemp, 434.
Request of Bree Kemp to address council regarding downtown safety from the perspective of a woman.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to testify before you today. My name is Bree Kemp. I'm 38 years old, and I moved to Portland from Chicago in 2010. I live downtown with my husband, just 4 blocks from City Hall. I'm not fond of public speaking, but recent events have compelled me to come here today to share my experience as a woman living in downtown Portland. I no longer feel safe in our city, and I am no longer proud to be a Portlander because of the condition of our downtown streets and sidewalks. 2 years ago, I was assaulted on my way to work at Southwest 6th and Clay Street. Out of nowhere and unprovoked, a homeless man approached my car, reached in through my window, and grabbed me by my hair. Terrified, I had no other option than to step on the gas to get away from him, losing a handful of hair in the process. This has left me nervous to the day. During my wedding reception in late 2016, a panhandler spit on one of our out-of-town guests because our friends wouldn't give this person money. They were terrified, having just read about the fatal stabbing near Coin Tower by a transient a few weeks prior. Recently, walking downtown with girlfriends, an aggressive woman, obviously on drugs, approached us and began making obscene gestures and statements. We said nothing and made no eye contact, but she continued to follow us for several blocks. This is just one of numerous such experiences of general harassment by street kids, sidewalk campers, and other unhinged individuals that seem to be everywhere downtown these days. It's a shame that as a taxpayer living in Portland, I no longer feel like these streets and sidewalks I help maintain are mine to use safely. Every time I walk downtown, I literally am making tactical decisions about my walking path to avoid sidewalk campers, shopping carts, piles of trash, human excrement, needles, and crazy screaming people. I applaud Mayor Wheeler's efforts to increase police staffing, and am appalled and disappointed, along with all of my friends, that there seems to be little support for this initiative from the rest of the council. It's clear there isn't enough police to enforce basic public safety. Portland's street populations seem to be growing unchecked, and from the experience of my friends and I, they're becoming more aggressive, violent, and unpredictable. I am happy to support efforts to provide housing and social services for those who legitimately are in need. But compassion that is misdirected helps no one. As a city, we need to distinguish between those who need help and others who abuse our goodwill. My parents taught me, help those who help themselves. The first and foremost duty of elected officials is to provide safety and rule of law for citizens. I insist that our streets and public spaces be restored as clean and lawful environments so that all residents can enjoy them equally without fear and without concern for their safety. I speak today on behalf of all my female friends and family in Portland. Please, I implore you, support the mayor's proposed budget that will allow for hiring of more police officers and give those officers the tools they need to restore basic public safety.
Thank you for being here. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next individual, 435, please.
Request of Owen Christofferson to address council regarding Transportation Network Company Drivers Board.
Good morning. Thank you for being here.
Good morning, and thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. My name is Owen Christofferson. I'm an Oregon native, a student at Portland State University, and I drive for both transportation network companies, Uber and Lyft. I've driven over 40,000 miles for them and worked through many snowstorms and holidays over the years. I'm here before you today to say that although those of us who drive for TNCs enjoy 21st century technology, we face 19th century working conditions, and we need a voice. We need a voice because we face a perilous work environment. Our earnings are erratic and often fall below minimum wage after driver expenses. We have no guarantee of protections from future rate cuts, so at a moment's notice, we could be earning even less. We serve the transportation needs of this city with the fear that our inadequate insurance protections could push us into poverty or homelessness in the event of an accident. We need a voice because we have no recourse in the event of an unfair deactivation or other grievance we might have with the company. The TNCs are judge, jury, and executioner, and us drivers have no ability to hold them accountable for their actions. We need a voice because, as drivers, we fall under the classification of independent contractors and not employees. This means that we are exempt from federal labor laws, including minimum wage, workers' compensation, unemployment insurance, and the right to collectively bargain. On May 23rd, there will be a hearing to begin the process of legislation to give us a driver's board here at the city. This board will give us that voice. It will allow us as drivers and other members of the community to truly have a seat at the table when it comes to determining what TNC policy will be best for all Portlanders. I strongly encourage you all to support the creation of that board. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, and can I just say, Owen, first of all, thank you
Yes.
for the organizing and advocacy that you and the coalition have done. And there will be a proposal before council on the 23rd, and so it's important that the community come out and support it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have any items been pulled from the consent agenda, Carla?
So we have 439, 441, and 442.
Please call the roll on the remainder of the consent agenda.
Fish,
Aye.
Saltzman,
Aye.
Udaly,
Aye.
Fritz.
Aye.
Wheeler.
Aye. Consent agenda is adopted. Next item, time certain, item 436.
Proclaim May 7th through 11, 2018 to be Digital Inclusion Week in Portland.
Colleagues, last July, we heard from the Office of Community Technology and partners about progress being made under the Digital Equity Action Plan. The DEAP, as it's referred to, or DEEP, is a collaboration of the City of Portland and the Multnomah County Library that lays out strategies and actions to ensure that all residents are digitally connected. We also heard about the collaborative energy and the momentum of the Digital Inclusion Network participants who represent organizations from the nonprofit, public, and private sectors pursuing digital inclusion opportunities and implementing strategies to serve our most vulnerable residents. Despite our successes, however, many Portland residents still face a stark digital divide. They don't have the skills to search for and apply for a job, check their kids' report cards, access critical health services, and much, much more. And increasingly, economic and social opportunities and advantages are available most easily to those who have consistent, affordable, high-speed internet access. My vision for Portland is one where every resident has access to opportunity. It will take a community effort to move the needle. No organization or government entity can tackle this important issue alone. And that's why I commend the participants of the Digital Inclusion Network for their commitment of time, resources, and passion to this important work. Digital Inclusion Week is an opportunity for us to emphasize Portland's digital equity commitment to our residents, recognize those who are getting involved, and foster new collaborations to make digital tools and services available to those in our community who need it the most. I'm looking forward to hearing from the various speakers this morning, but first I'd like to call up Rebecca Gibbons from the Portland Office for Community Technology and John Warona from the Multnomah County Library. Thank you for being here today and welcome. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'm Rebecca Gibbons, Digital Equity Program Coordinator with the Office for Community Technology. In this role, I'm tasked, along with staff at Multnomah County Library, with overseeing the implementation of the Digital Equity Action Plan, or as we call it, the DEEP, that was adopted by the Portland City Council, Multnomah County Board of Commissioners, and the County Library Board. A primary responsibility of ours is to foster and engage partnerships and community efforts that align with DEEP goals. With over a year of DEEP implementation under our belt, the momentum and commitment of our community partners to bridging the digital divide remains steadfast. I'm excited to be here today on behalf of our local consortium called the Digital Inclusion Network, or DIN. With OCT and library staff support, the DIN members continue to come together to leverage resources, share learnings, and develop new services for residents, with a focus on serving low-income individuals and families, older adults, people of color, people with disabilities, and people with limited English language proficiency. Digital Inclusion Week is a nationwide effort to raise awareness about digital inequities and the strategies to close those gaps. It's sponsored by the National Digital Inclusion Alliance, a professional association representing more than 300 affiliated organizations in 38 states that are working towards digital equity. Throughout the week, organizations across the country are hosting digital inclusion events, sharing stories, and highlighting the role digital inclusion providers play in meeting these needs. Locally, our DIN partners, nonprofit, business, and public sectors are promoting existing digital inclusion programs throughout the county, using social media to spread awareness, and collecting and sharing our own local digital inclusion stories. Our community partners are working tirelessly to develop and provide digital inclusion services throughout the year. Digital Inclusion Week is our opportunity to highlight some of that work. In addition to being here today to share with you some of the exciting partnerships that have formed and events we have planned for the week, our DIN partners have helped us put together a calendar of local trainings and classes for residents and learning opportunities for digital inclusion providers. Our Digital Inclusion Week calendar, which is available on OCT's website, includes classes about online safety and privacy, STEAM and coding classes for youth, basic computer literacy, and tech support. These classes are offered in a multiple of languages, including Spanish, Russian, and Chinese. And the host organizations include the Library, Free Geek, Hacienda CDC, Portland Community College, Outside the Frame, to just name a few. I'll turn it over to John now, who will share a little bit more about our work.
Thank you, Rebecca. Oh, sorry. Thank you, Rebecca. And thank you, Mayor Wheeler and commissioners. Good morning. I'm John Warona, Director of Content Strategy for the Multnomah County Library. Incidentally, you will find many of these week's digital inclusion activities on the library's website, multcolib.org. It is this kind of collaboration and the coalition building that we've been focusing on this year that we're here to highlight today. Rebecca and I and a small group of our colleagues at the city and county convene weekly in county offices as the de facto Digital Inclusion Network Steering Committee and share the work of implementing the DEEP, where we are lead partners, and supporting other partner organizations where they take the lead on strategic actions and, outlined in the plan that you mentioned. We plan the agenda for monthly network meetings, and we have appreciated the city as a venue host for the DIN meetings. One of the 17 strategic actions identified in the DEEP is to convene a digital inclusion summit to provide an update on DEEP implementation, share learnings, network, and recognize good work. The first Digital Inclusion Summit in November of 2014 launched the creation of the nationally recognized Digital Equity Action Plan, and tomorrow we will host the first Digital Inclusion Summit since the city and county adopted the DEEP. Along with OCT staff, county staff are leading a small working group of DIN members to organize the 2018 Digital Inclusion Summit. The summit theme is economic opportunity, and the day is shaping up to include inspirational keynotes, panel discussions, and networking breaks to help advance our collective efforts to build a digitally connected, prosperous community. We look forward to seeing you there tomorrow, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
The summit is a great example of our partnerships in action. A diverse array of different organizations have come together to create a space for discussion, collaboration, and networking. The summit planning team itself is a model of what we hope to accomplish with the convening of practitioners and facilitation of conversations. With the help of Open Signal, Nonprofit Technology Network, N10, the State of Oregon Program for Women, Infants, and Children, WIC, Pacific Northwest College of Art, PNCA's Make Think Code, Oregon Citizens Utility Board, CUB, and Metro East Community Media, we will put on a full-day program at PNCA tomorrow for more than 150 participants from about 100 organizations. We've lined up a variety of facilitated panel discussions to spark conversations that are inspired by the challenging issues we've worked on in the DIN. By reaching out to philanthropic organizations, the tech community, service providers, and technical education and career guidance organizations, we will be bringing more areas of expertise into the tent to add awareness and capacity to the work that is ahead of us in this region. We know from our regular meetings and conversations among active participants in the DIN that connections lead to partnerships that lead to inspiring outcomes for residents. For example, the library has an active Earn a Computer program ongoing now at Hacienda CDC to serve their impacted population in need of digital skills and devices. A natural partnership formed based on the key tenets based on one of the key tenets of our work, and that is working with community organizations that are deeply embedded in the communities we want to serve. They have already identified the needs in their community, but don't have the skills and resources to meet them. Thanks to our proven partnership with FreeGeek, the library is able to bring the training and computers to help grow capacity in these organizations to build upon what we bring to them. The summit theme, as I mentioned, is economic opportunity. And so we value our relationship with the technology community because we believe that digital inclusion can lead to employment and other opportunities to advance society. Fittingly, Mozilla is one of our summit sponsors. Tomorrow night, after the summit, many of us will be at the Technology Association of Oregon Awards Night to continue to connect with technology companies in order to build diversity into the tech workforce pipeline. Many of these companies have signed the Tech Town Pledge to, quote, advance workplace diversity and inclusion in order to grow industry while broadening prosperity. At TAO, we will all be inspired by our Director of Libraries, Veli Elke, who will provide the keynote address on the issues of digital equity and inclusion that are essential to solve if our region is to grow and prosper. Today, it is our partners who continue to inspire us. Next, I'd like to introduce Sarah Rasmussen from FreeGeek, followed by Sam Pastrick from Oregon CUB.
Thank you, both of you. Good morning, Sarah. Good morning, Sam. And if you wouldn't mind just repeating your names for the record, please.
Good morning. My name is Sarah Rasmussen, and I'm representing FreeGeek.
Thank you.
You're going first.
Sure. Thank you, Council, for having me. Thank you to the Office for Community Technology and Multnomah County Library for the opportunity to be here. I am here to share a little bit about how the technology that you use here today is creating opportunity for youth, families, and nonprofits tomorrow. So I think a lot of the folks here in the room today recognize that digital tools are as necessary as transportation, housing in the 21st century. I don't need to cover that anymore. But since 2000, Free Geek has been committed to digital equity for all, regardless of socioeconomic status, race, gender, ability, age, or any other factor. And at Free Geek, our programs are founded on a unique circular model where we're tackling excess electronic waste, convening community members and technologists, and actively creating access to those basic technologies as well as technical skills among vulnerable populations. What I think is neat about this approach is it allows us to use resources effectively to turn e-waste into opportunity, and has created a vibrant model that's proved successful for almost 20 years now. Free Geek is definitely a special part of what makes Portland, oh, I'm too close, Portland. But we literally couldn't do that work alone. And across every sector here in Portland, the cycle of reuse and the culture of reuse is an ongoing and collaborative effort. So I just want to say thank you. The technology that Free Geek receives from the city and from the county significantly positively impacts our community. And so we're so grateful for your support, and we're grateful for the support of businesses like AWS Elemental or First Tech Federal Credit Union, who provide the resources that we need in order to protect the environment, refurbish and give away computers, and ultimately help people reach their goals with technology. So every week, organizations like Impact Northwest, Slavic Family Radio, Street Roots, Rose City Rollers are picking up technology from Free Geek and saving resources, allowing them to stretch their budgets even further. And every day we hear stories like Angela's, who reached out to Free Geek on Facebook recently to say, "I am so grateful to earn a computer through volunteering. I didn't have one, but needed one to finish my degree. I definitely couldn't have afforded one at the time. Thanks to Free Geek, I was able to graduate." So this is what it looks like to transform technology into opportunity. So thank you for helping us include everyone in our digital future.
Thank you. Appreciate it, sir.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning. For the record, my name's Sam Pastrick, Outreach Manager at Oregon Citizens Utility Board, or CUB, as you folks probably better know us as. At several points over the last handful of years, I've spoken for City Council regarding work in the city, either around digital equity and inclusion or information and communications technology policy more generally. The focus of my testimony today is how the Digital Equity Action Plan, or DEEP, and the Digital Inclusion Network member participation has already driven and will continue to drive good and impactful public policy. For instance, goal number 5 of the DEEP reads, "Build a policy framework that supports digital equity and meaningful internet adoption, leading to better community outcomes." This goal is followed by a set of core objectives and strategic actions. For the purpose of this testimony, however, I do want to highlight 2 key objectives. The first is elected officials advocate for digital equity and suggest community-centered and delivered solutions. The second is statewide legislation mandating transparency and clarity in broadband contract language. The good news is that I can sit here today and report with confidence that elected officials, present company included, do in fact advocate for digital equity and support community-centered and delivered solutions. Probably a prime example, I would say, of this is advocacy on Mayor Wheeler's part around network neutrality. Indeed, if elected officials failed to advocate for digital equity and endorse a community approach, I, in all likelihood, would not be here today, and there would certainly be no Digital Inclusion Week proclamation or 2018 Digital Inclusion Summit. Elected officials serving the City of Portland, Multnomah County, and the state at large have come, I would say, a long way since the 2014 Digital Inclusion Summit and then passage of the separate 2016 City of Portland and Multnomah County DEEP resolutions. And to be clear, this quantifiable and qualifiable progress is due in no small part to the Office for Community Technology, especially irreplaceable staff like Julio Melchuk and Rebecca Gibbons, as well as committed staff at Multnomah County Library, as well as a litany of other community groups, of which there are simply too many to name. The not so good news is that we've still a long, long way to go. Far too many Multnomah County residents live without reasonable and reliable network connectivity. 15,000 people do not have access to 25 megabit per second wired broadband. 8,000 county residents do not have access to any wired broadband at all. 24,000 residents have access to one or fewer wired internet service providers. But we can get there, as a city, as a county, and as a state. Yet the best way to get there is first and foremost to buoy and strengthen and acknowledge the structures and expertise on which we already rely, starting, I would say, with the city's Office for Community Technology. As regards the second objective I mentioned, statewide legislation mandating transparency and clarity in broadband contract language, we, and by we, I mean the state of Oregon, in fact, accomplished this goal earlier this year. CUB, in partnership with ACLU Oregon and Majority Leader Williamson, and with the backing of several DIN members, passed House Bill 4155, which is Oregon's answer to the federal appeal of the 2015 Open Internet Order. First and foremost, the legislation requires public bodies like the City of Portland to only enter into contract with internet service providers attesting to uphold network neutrality. Yet a lesser discussed provision of this required attestation ensures that internet access service providers shall publicly disclose information regarding the provider's network management practice and performance characteristics and the commercial terms of that provider's broadband internet access service. My point here, of course, outside of highlighting Oregon's continued leadership with regard to network neutrality, is that CUB's leadership advocacy efforts around issues like net neutrality or data protection or right to repair is in no small part a direct outcome of the Digital Inclusion Network forming in 2014, and then creating a space at the table for organizations like CUB or Free Geek or any number of other groups. In short, the Digital Inclusion Network and the Digital Equity Action Plan directly inform good public policy. This public policy improves digital equity outcomes to Oregon communities because advocacy groups with lobbying clout can better tap into a network of ally organizations. I'll close my remarks by once again commending the very, very, very good work of the Office for Community Technology, because without staff like Julie and Rebecca and Mary Beth Henry before them, as well as an expert group of volunteer cable regulatory commissioners, there would be no Digital Inclusion Network. There would be no Digital Equity Action Plan, and there most certainly would be no Digital Inclusion at Week proclamation. Thank you for your time, and I'm, of course, happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, both of you.
Thank you.
And last but not least, we'd like to invite up Betty Dominguez and Rania Ahmed.
Very good. Come on up. Good morning.
Good morning, Mayor Wheeler and councilors. So sorry. I just wounded our guest. Betty Dominguez, the director at Home Forward. Nearly a year ago, I was here before you, Home Forward being a DIN member. We were celebrating the first anniversary of the DEEP, the Digital Equity Action Plan, and I was sharing with you some of the work that we've been doing at Home Forward around promoting digital equity with our residents. And at the time, I had one of our residents with us, and if you recall, she, which you probably won't, but she was so pleased to have received a computer through Free Geek and have learned how to use it, how to access the internet, and have an email address, which enabled her then to look for work and apply for jobs, which she was, very limited at doing prior to that. And she went on to become a teacher in one of our classes, and we were paying her to do that. But today I'm here with a different narrative. When Home Forward began our digital work, we were aware of an initiative out of then President Obama's administration in partnership with HUD called Connect Home. HUD, in collaboration with an organization called Everyone On and other stakeholders, began to build local partnerships and gather commitments that would increase access to the internet for low-income Americans, especially students and children who are living in public and assisted housing across the country by bringing broadband access, technical assistance, and digital literacy training to them. The initiative started in 28 pilot communities in 2015, In 2017, the initiative was expanded to include 27 more communities, and at that time, Home Forward, in partnership with the city, applied and was accepted into this new cohort. So it's my pleasure now to introduce you to Rania Ahmed, the Regional Director in Northern California for Everyone On, who flew up from San Francisco yesterday to be here. She's going to tell you more about the program and our partnership, and then she has an announcement to make.
Very good, thank you.
Hi, good morning. Happy spring. It's my first time in Portland, and everything and everyone is in full bloom.
It's always this nice.
Yeah, we
The
ordered
weather's
the weather up for her.
On behalf of Everyone On, I would like to thank the City of Portland and Home Forward and Betty Dominguez for having me here. My name is Rania Ahmed, as she said, and I am the California and Northwest Regional Director of Everyone On. So what is Everyone On? The name, it's a namesake situation that should make it really obvious, but we are a national nonprofit that creates social and economic opportunity by connecting everyone to the internet. We aim to leverage the democratizing power of the internet to provide opportunity to all people in the United States, regardless of age, race, geography, income, or education. We've connected over 500,000 people across America since 2012, and we aim to reach 1 million people by 2020. As we all know, the internet has transformed the way we engage with the world around us. From jobs to education to healthcare, more and more resources are being made available on the education superhighway, and those who are unconnected are being left behind. Just in the workforce, we know that 90% of people in the United States who have looked for a job in the last 2 years use the internet to research jobs, and 84% have applied to a job online. In education, nearly all students say they are required to use the internet to complete homework assignments outside of school. It's about 96.5%. And in terms of wellness, a Pew Internet report revealed 59% of caregivers with internet access say that online resources have increased their ability to provide care and support for the person in their care. Rosalba Naranjo, a wife and mother of 3 children, wrote us to say, having internet at home will help my husband excel at work. He's required to complete an online food preparation training, and on the same day we subscribed to the adoption event, he completed his online training. Additionally, my son is in high school and needs access to the internet and a computer to complete his homework. We're so happy to have had the opportunity to enroll and receive a donated computer. She also shared that as a neighborhood ambassador, she'll now be able to connect with her neighbors and other community leaders online. So let's switch topics and talk about Connect Home USA for a moment. We've talked about how technology has transformed the way we live, creating new ways to access education, healthcare, jobs, and connect with friends and family. Yet 62 million people remain isolated from the digital world. Connect Home USA is an effort to bridge this digital divide in HUD-assisted communities around the country. Under leadership of the national nonprofit Everyone On, that's us, and with support from HUD, Connect Home USA aims to assist selected communities to bring affordable digital resources to their residents so they can connect to the internet at home and enjoy access to digital literacy, affordable devices, as well as educational content. Ultimately, Connect Home USA will scale throughout the nation and connect 350,000 HUD-assisted housing residents in 100 communities. The program creates a platform for community leaders, local governments, nonprofit organizations, and private industries to join together to produce locally tailored solutions for narrowing the digital divide. Since its launch, as Betty mentioned, as a pilot in 2015, Connect Home USA has helped connect over 36,000 households across 28 pilot sites, provided over 10,000 commuting devices, and held over 350 trainings. Now, on behalf of Everyone On, we welcome Portland to the Connect Home USA cohort, and we thank you for being such an incredible example for other members. Betty's always on the phone with other members in the cohort, explaining how to do things and being an example that we had no idea we were bringing in. So I hope we can help you as much as you've already helped us. Portland's commitment to Portland's commitment to connection and commitment, 2 words I'm struggling with, through the Digital Inclusion Network and the Digital Equity Access Plan are setting an incredible example for other counties across America, and the commitment to bridge the digital divide for the community's citizens is truly remarkable. NDIA has recognized the Digital Equity Access Plan as a digital inclusion trailblazer. If I say digital one more time. And DEAP has also won the National Telecommunication Officers and Advisory Community Broadband Strategic Plan of the Year Award. It's no easy to create an inclusive plan to connect a community. And we at Everyone On would like to thank Mayor Ted Wheeler, the Digital Inclusion Network, Home Forward, and the City of Portland for leading us to a brighter and more connected future.
Thank you. We really appreciate your being here today. Thank you for the partnership.
Thank you very much.
Are
Great.
there any questions? No?
Colleagues, any Commissioner Udaley?
I have some comments.
Great.
Yeah. First, I want to give a shout out to Outside the Frame, who's sitting in the back of the room here. One of my favorite local nonprofits. They provide homeless youth with a creative outlet and technological training, and they learn how to make movies from start to finish. And I believe they are here to support or celebrate this proclamation. So thank you for being here. And thank you to the Portland Digital Inclusion Network for all that you've done for digital equity here in Portland. I'm sending multiple staffers to the summit tomorrow, and I'm sure they're going to come back with enthusiasm and ideas around new ideas around this important initiative. So thank you for the invitation. The National Digital Inclusion Alliance rates U.S. cities on 8 key indicators of municipal digital inclusion leadership, and I'm proud to say that Portland has 6 of those 8 indicators. I'm going to skip the ones that we're doing because I want to keep my remarks short and just say that the 2 areas we're lacking are supporting a community wireless network for residential areas and providing discount internet service for low-income households. So I'm hopeful that we'll be able to achieve those last 2 areas of digital inclusion as soon as possible, and that digital equity will remain a top priority as we work to develop our smart cities framework. So I want to encourage everyone interested in contributing to this project to attend a digital inclusion. You do have to say digital a lot.
It's hard.
You say a word too many times and it begins to lose its meaning, but okay.
I've tried to find new words for it.
Yes. Attend a Digital Inclusion Network meeting. They may meet on the 4th Wednesday of every month. You can also join their Google group through the website for digital updates. Also take a look at the Digital Equity Action Plan strategic actions. And you can become a DIN/DEEP partner by submitting your own project description. So congratulations and thank you to all our DEEP partners.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Fritz.
Thank you so much for being here, both of you. Thank you for making the trip up from California. Thank you to my Metro Councillor as well as a leader in the community, and I hope you continue to be so. Commissioner Saltzman, I was trying to think of you've been here for 20 years and this is my 10th, and this is one of the projects that you and I work together in partnership, as I think we both feel a lot of pride of ownership that this plan is doing everything that it promised to do, and will continue to be used as the foundation for how to do an inclusive internet outreach program. And we do in partnership with our providers. I have to recognize that Comcast provided $10,000 to do the outreach to communities of color that helped inform this plan, and have been partners in giving computers and lower cost services. Not quite sure what the status of that is now, because I'm no longer in charge of what used to be the Office of Cable Communications and Franchise Management, and now the Office for Community Technology. I do know that it's going to be a public-private partnership, because Commissioner Saltzman did do an exhaustive look into can we provide municipal broadband, and we were just not able to do that. And it still means that people need to be able to find other ways to get that. So I know we'll be a partner on that. I want to thank also the Mount Hood Cable Regulatory Commission for their volunteer leadership and work ongoing. Julio Melchuk and your staff, and David Olson and Mary Beth Henry, the former leaders of the office, for their vision and insistence that this needed to happen. And now the communities, grasping the document and implementing and looking at implementing every step of it. So it's a true public-private community partnership, and I'm very, very happy to be having been a part of it.
Well, and Commissioner Fritz, Comcast is not out of the picture. We are Home Forward right now. We're in the process with Comcast of being one of their national research partners. So they're going to be working with us. We're working with the PSU Research Lab right now and designing a survey for our 6,500 units. It's a very complex project, but we'll be able to pull a lot of data out of that, which I think will help Home Forward in its work going forward, and certainly will help Comcast. And they're looking at things like how the internet impacts people from a health perspective, employment, education, but even social media, political awareness, all those kinds of things that we take for granted when we're on the internet. So more to come on that.
Are they and other providers still looking at still providing or looking to provide super low-cost basic service?
Yes, they are one of the providers that can offer services to low-income residents at just under $10 a month, $9.95.
And how would people find out how to get onto that plan?
I'm sorry?
How would people find out about that plan and sign up for it?
Well, that's part of what our outreach is with our residents, first through the classes that we've been doing, and then certainly through Comcast. We'll be sending letters out to all of our households about the research project and then letting them know. They'll divide it up. There'll be cohorts. There'll be a control group, not a control group. So, like I said, it's complicated, but more info to come, I hope.
And I'm assuming that information's on the Office of the Community Technologies website. Yes, I'm getting a nod on that, so you can go to the city's website.
No, it's not there yet.
No?
We're still pricing the cost of the survey work and, working out non-disclosure agreements, all those kinds of things. So.
Okay, coming soon then. We'll watch out for it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Very good.
All right.
All right, so one more item, and that is I get to read the proclamation. It's the best part about being mayor. It has the word digital in it about 45 times, so let's see how I do. Whereas digital equity means everyone has adequate access and understanding of information and communications technologies regardless of socioeconomic status, physical ability, language, race, gender, or any other characteristics linked with unequal treatment. And whereas digital inclusion is the activities and supports necessary to ensure all Portlanders have opportunities to obtain digital equity and to fully participate in the education, the economy, healthcare, and civic and cultural life of our community. And whereas through the city's Digital Equity Action Plan, DEEP, we learned digital equity for our residents means access to relevant technology training and tech support, affordable or free high-speed internet at home, and affordable computing devices. And whereas the Digital Inclusion Network, a consortium of community-based organizations leading the collective effort to provide programs and activities aligned with DEEP strategic actions and focused on serving our most digitally marginalized residents, such as seniors, those with disabilities, and low-income families. And whereas this collective community effort has led to new and unique collaborations and partnerships, such as Multnomah County Library, Free Geek, Home Forward, and the Metro East Community Media collaborating on an Earn a Computer program, or the City and Home Forward partnering to gain Connect Home Nation membership. And whereas the Digital Inclusion Network's demonstrated ongoing commitment to digital equity has elevated the City of Portland as a national leader in digital inclusion efforts, keeping our residents economically and culturally healthy in a rapidly changing communications technology landscape. And whereas, by participating in Digital Inclusion Week, the city creates a unified national voice for digital inclusion and shows support for our local organizations, public institutions, and businesses on the front lines offering digital inclusion programs. Now, therefore, I, Ted Wheeler, Mayor of the City of Portland, Oregon, the City of Roses, do hereby proclaim May 7th through 11th, 2018, to be Digital Inclusion Week in Portland, and encourage all residents to observe this week. Thank you. Appreciate it. We have a tradition. We'd love the people who presented, maybe some of the people who had the signs in the back of the room. Why don't we come up here and we'll have a photograph. Trevon, would would you mind taking the photo? Thank you.
How are we doing this? Where's the camera? What do you think?
I don't know where to stand.
How many people can we fit in this frame? Because everyone else needs to be outside of it.
I'll stand in the back. I need somebody in front to hold the proclamation.
I'll do it.
Would you like to do that,
I'd love
please?
to do that.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem, Ted. Just let me see if I can get my direction right.
All right, say digital.
Analog's better. Everyone knows that.
Get ready, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Take down.
Outside the frame, look at the middle camera.
Middle one? Can we do that a third time?
Keep staying. Keep standing. Perfect. Commissioner Fish, perfect.
Just to the next time.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Hey, Ted. Hey.
Woo!
Yeah, you got a good cut.
Actually, you know what happens? Always have courtesy. That'll be your great advantage in life.
Thank you. All right, next item, 437, please.
Proclaim May 2018 to be Older Americans Month.
Commissioner Fish.
Actually, I think you're,
Oh, hang on.
I think you're setting it up, I hope. Hold on a sec.
No, I have no TPs here, but I can do
We're
it.
tag teaming. I think you're,
Okay, we're going
you're teeing it up.
Very good. So we are proclaiming May of 2018 to be Older Americans Month in the city of Portland. As everybody is well aware, Portland takes great pride in being an age-friendly city. And I want to be very clear, that is an aspirational goal. While we do many things right today, there is a ton of work ahead in order to truly be an age-friendly community for all. Many people here, including Commissioner Fish, who is going to take over in just a minute in this tag team effort, have been involved for many, many years on the vital aging process that was started back in 2007 at the Multnomah County level, and I had the privilege of participating in that effort. The city of Portland became officially designated as an age-friendly community. We seek to find opportunities where generations can mix, mingle, and benefit socially and culturally and economically from each other. And as we noted when we were out the other day, and I met with some of the folks who are here in the room who are going to be speaking today, in many regards, we are trying through policy to get back to a community value which used to be innate in our culture, which was older adults and young people would live and work and share in immediate proximity. Young people could benefit from the wisdom and the experience of older adults, and older adults could benefit from being participants in helping to shape a young person's life and help them to grow to be successful adults. And so that's the spirit in which we're all gathered here today with many of our partners who have worked with us tirelessly on the age-friendly community, and we're delighted to be able to honor that this month. Commissioner Fish.
So Mayor, what we're going to do in the run of show is ask you to first read the proclamation, then we have 2 invited guests to come forward, and they're going to say a few things. But I just want to put in the record that the reason that Ted and I have co-sponsored this is we've been getting the most solicitations from AARP. And so we thought it was just...
I've been getting them since I was 40 years old.
Yeah, but you're still
I
40
have
something.
2 years to go.
So I'm going to read this proclamation. It probably does not have the word digital in it. And I am reading it as a proud member of the AARP. Whereas the Portland City Council and our partners at Multnomah County, Age Friendly Portland, Elders in Action, Portland State University, SAGE, and AARP Oregon are committed to a shared vision of a Portland that is welcoming and inclusive to people of all ages and abilities. And whereas Portland is proud to be one of the 9 original cities accepted into the World Health Organization's Age-Friendly Global Network, the only city from the United States, and whereas the City of Portland supports livable communities for people of all ages and continues to support the work of implementing the Age-Friendly Portland Action Plan, and whereas as Portland's population grows older and the cost of living rises, the City of Portland is committed to supporting efforts that ensure older adults are able to continue to afford to live here and age in place, and whereas older adults play a respected and invaluable role in our community by contributing their time and energy to help redefine what it means to age, by providing mentorships, starting businesses, getting actively involved in their neighborhoods, volunteering their time in schools and on causes, and pushing us to challenge our concepts of getting older. And whereas communities flourish when people of all ages contribute their experiences, their time, their respect, and their service. And now, therefore, I, Ted Wheeler, Mayor of the City of Portland, Oregon, the City of Roses, do hereby proclaim May 2018 to be Older Americans Month in Portland and encourage all residents to observe this day.
Hear, hear. So, Mr. Mayor, Alan and Jerry, would you please come forward and get settled at the dais? And I want to just say a few other remarks. As the mayor noted, this year's theme is engage at every level and focuses on the importance of civic involvement, volunteerism, or as some refer to it as returnism. Did I get that right? And playing an active role in your community. We've coordinated our proclamation with our colleagues at the county who will be doing their proclamation tomorrow because they have they're on a different schedule. With us this morning are Dr. Alan Delatorre from Portland State University and the Age Friendly Advisory Council, and Jerry Cohen, State Director for AARP. Gentlemen, welcome.
Thank you.
Mayor Wheeler, Commissioners, it's great to be here today. Even though I'm not quite 40, I hit that mark in July. I've been an appointed volunteer for AARP.
You're dismissed.
I'm dismissed. Oh, no. I crossed that important threshold. As of July, I'll be covered by the Age Discrimination and Employment Act, so watch out.
Yeah.
So I just really quickly want to highlight some of the important aspects of the Older Americans Act, which was passed in 1965. It allows for essential services to be delivered to older adults to age in place in a healthy and independent manner. It's important to note that in 1965, the average age at birth in the United States was 70. Since then, that's risen to close to 79. This is important for a couple of reasons, but I wanted to point out this intersection between age, disability, and race and ethnicity, which I'll get to in just a moment. So of those aged 65 to 74, only about 26% have one or more disabilities. When you get to that next cohort, the 75 to 84, approximately 45% of the population has one or more disabilities. And when you get to 85 and older, which is the fastest growing cohort here in Portland and across the country, 73% of all of those older adults, 85 and older, have at least one disability, with multiple disabilities being common among that population. Older blacks and Hispanics with a disability had higher rates of poverty. Older blacks and whites with a disability had higher rates of living alone. So moving forward, it is critically important that we continue to look at quality of life in later stages, which is going to become increasingly prevalent as the boomers continue to change our age structure and as the disability rates among older adults continue to rise. I think that this is important because we have a community of haves and have-nots. This is happening here in Portland and nationally, whether you're able-bodied or not able-bodied, whether you have the income to live where you choose to live, whether you have the ability to find the services that keep you independent and healthy are all really important. So I'd like to say that it's important we support the Older Americans Act moving forward, that the community of Portland understands that older adults are an asset, and that engagement of older adults is important as we continue to move forward, as we continue to build a community for all ages, where Portland is a place where we can grow up and grow old. And I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Jerry Cohn, at this point.
Well,
thank you very much, Doctor.
Thank you. Jerry Cohn, State Director of AARP Oregon, but in a past life, my first job out of law school 41 years ago was working under the Older Americans Act as legal services for the state of Missouri. And as a quick aside, I did want to let Commissioner Daly know that indeed you can't join at any age, as I in chagrin found out when my bride 41 years ago joined AARP because the digital internet had not been invented yet and she wanted the publications. So look forward to those letters coming.
I'm still going to save that treat for
Quite all
my
right.
50th birthday.
But I would like to move forward on Dr. Delatorre's remarks, but add a few things, because we know, and as Mayor Wheeler just pointed out, building communities for all ages and ability takes tremendous leadership. And here in Portland, we've been blessed with such leadership, and it's been reflected globally, nationally, to state, and at the community local levels. When the World Health Organization was formulating the concept of age-friendly some years ago and identifying cities that would meet that criteria of age-friendly, it was Dr. Margaret Beth Neal who was at the forefront of that work. And she helped assure that Oregon was the first U.S. city, sorry, New York City, they were number 2, that was so recognized. Ultimately, that led to also AARP's work in this field in working with WHO to create AARP's age-friendly network, which here in Oregon includes Portland, Multnomah County, City of Springfield, and others that are showing expressed interest as well. In fact, I should add Salem, Oregon has also joined us recently. So we're among 170 plus cities and growing that have embraced the aspirational goal. Dr. Neal's work on this, the creation, and recently the relaunch of what AARP's Public Policy Institute calls the Livability Index, which is a very practical tool for any community and neighborhood to look at what are those aspirational goals, how do we measure currently, where can we go to. It was her cutting-edge work that's helped AARP's Public Policy Institute create that nationally for all cities and communities. And most significantly, she's combined her skills of research with educating disciplines for students, interdisciplinary work for students, public and private sector policy makers, and across generations, all of us to build a community for all ages and ability. So I've had the privilege of knowing and working with Dr. Neal for 21 plus years as we first created the AARP state office 21 years ago. So I'm proud to both call her a great leader and a friend.
Well, Jerry, this is a big surprise that you mentioned Margaret. So since she's here, Margaret, would you please come forward and take a seat at the table with your 2 colleagues? And we did not want to miss this opportunity, Margaret Neal, to thank you for all that you've done for our city. And we want to surprise you with something. And we're also pleased today that we're joined by Dean Percy, the Dean of the College of Urban and Public Affairs, Cora Potter, who's a fan, who is our go-to person in Lentz, and some other folks here who are here to cheer you on. And it's my great honor to read a proclamation which the mayor is issuing today in your honor. Whereas June 30th, 2018 marks the retirement of Dr. Margaret Beth Neal from Portland State University. And whereas 2018 marks more than 40 years of service to Portland State University, and as an extension, more than 40 years of Dr. Neal's, quote, knowledge serving the city of Portland, end quote. And whereas the Portland City Council recognizes over a decade of international, state, and local leadership of Dr. Neal to the Age-Friendly Initiative, which has seen Portland become the first U.S. city included in the World Health Organization and AARP Age-Friendly Communities Network. And whereas the City of Portland can take pride in her civic leadership as she now explores, quote, what's next, end quote, and continues to define retirement to returnment. And whereas Dr. Neal embodies the spirit of building communities for all ages and abilities as we age. Now, therefore, I, Ted Wheeler, Mayor of the City of Portland, Oregon, the City of Roses, do hereby proclaim that the City of Portland honors the service and contributions of Dr. Margaret Beth Neal and encourages all residents to honor her service to our community. Margaret, would you care to share a few remarks with us before we take some pictures?
I would just say that I am speechless. I didn't see this coming. It's been an honor to work with all of you, with the City of Portland, with Multnomah County. It's been the highlight of my career to work on the Age-Friendly Communities effort. It takes knowledge and puts it into practice, and it has been a joy with all of our community partners and our government partners. So thank you all very much for everything you've done.
Well, Mayor, perhaps we could ask Jay Bloom and Dr. Percy and Dee and Cora and all of our friends to join us for a picture as we hand out both proclamations.
That would be great. Wonderful.
The octave is inside the elevator. We're like, go away. We kept this in. Can you get her here?
Hey, Margaret.
Colleagues from the Institute and OGA, if you could come up as well. You'll have to coach me.
Jerry, let's go back. Hey, Jerry, can I go back? Nothing's a secret. So how would God
Once you come right back here in the middle.
Okay.
We can do it. We can do it.
All right.
Remember you say digital.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Keep taking great smiles. This one. 1, 2. Take a fun. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you guys for helping with the surprise. This has been wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Dean, Dean, Percy, thanks Here's the other proclamation.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. All right, Carla, could you please read item number 438?
Proclaim May 5th through 12th, 2018 to be Girls Inc. Week.
Colleagues, in a moment, I'm going to invite up Executive Director of Girls Inc., Elizabeth Nye, to speak. Is Elizabeth here? Yeah. There she is. Come on up, Elizabeth. And I'm going to go ahead and read this proclamation. Please come on up, all of you. Whereas girls today face a broad range of mental, social, and emotional health challenges stemming from the pressure to please and succeed, the effects of media, prejudices, and inequality, and violence. And whereas many girls, particularly those in underserved communities, do not receive the services that they need, girls with unaddressed mental health problems may withdraw from classes or activities and lose access to critical development opportunities. Whereas promoting girls' mental and physical health in a safe, supportive environment leads to positive outcomes for girls. And whereas the Girls Inc. experience takes an approach to inspiring strong girls by addressing their mental and physical health in a comprehensive and interconnected way. And whereas Girls Inc. advocates for policies and practices that help girls get the physical, mental, and reproductive health services they need the most. And whereas Girls Inc. provides girls with a sisterhood of support, long-lasting mentoring relationships, and programs and experiences that help girls foster positive mental health. Now, therefore, I, Ted Wheeler, Mayor of the City of Portland, Oregon, the City of Roses, do hereby proclaim May 5th through May 12th, 2018, to be Girls Inc. Week across the City of Portland, Oregon, and encourage all residents to observe this week. Thank you for being with us. Good morning, Elizabeth. How are you today?
I'm well. Thank you so much, Mayor Wheeler. Thank you so much also for proclaiming this week Girls Inc. Week 2018. Our goal for this week across the country, across all Girls Inc. affiliates and the communities that we serve, is to focus on issues related to girls and mental health. So thank you for addressing this important need in our community. My name is Elizabeth Nye. I'm the Executive Director of Girls Inc. of the Pacific Northwest. I will be brief in my comments today because I feel like our highest honor at Girls Inc. is the ability to lift up girls' voices, and we have some girls here today who will speak on our behalf. As you mentioned, girls today face a broad range of mental, social, and emotional challenges stemming from the pressure to please and succeed, prejudices, inequality, and violence. We also know that today in the United States, girls before they reach the age of 18, 1 in 4 girls will experience sexual violence in their lives. And we also know that girls who experience this violence are at higher risk for depression, anxiety, alcohol and drug use, and risky behavior. It's also important to note that girls who live in high poverty neighborhoods experience sexual violence at a much higher rate and are at more risk for these subsequent effects. Mental health is an important stage of life and is critical for a young person's short-term and long-term success. And unfortunately, 1 in 5 teens today report suffering from a mental illness, and many do not feel comfortable asking for help. Unaddressed mental health issues do have dangerous consequences. We know right now that the rate of girls committing suicide has tripled in the last 15 years. At Girls Inc. of the Pacific Northwest, our goal is to help girls grow up to be healthy, educated, and independent. We also, through our policies and our practices, advocate for girls getting the health services that they need, and we work actively with our school partners and community partners to ensure that girls are supported. The past few months have seen an increased awareness of sexual violence and harassment towards women. We know this. We've seen it through the #MeToo movement. At Girls Inc., we are committed to making sure that the community remembers that it's a #GirlsToo, that our girls are affected by the same things that are happening to women, whether it's at school, whether it's on the street, whether it's in their interpersonal relationships. We also are advocating for disciplinary practices that take into account and address the underlying causes of girls' behavior at school. Right now, in Oregon, 78% of girls in the juvenile justice system have experienced sexual abuse in their lives. So when we think about the school to prison pipeline, we are wanting to make sure that everybody that is involved in girls' lives have the tools and the knowledge to work with them effectively. Mental health has a huge impact on young people and their ability to lead healthy, fulfilling, meaningful lives. It's critical to the health of our nation as a whole. This next generation is counting on us, and with you in her corner at Girls Inc., we believe that all of our girls will succeed. At this time, I want to introduce Ani. Ani and Hazel are both Girls Inc. girls. Ani has been a part of our national Girls Action Network and has been working with a group of girls across the United States and Washington, D.C. To highlight the importance of mental health and girls and this week. So I'd like to turn it over to Ani.
Thank you. Welcome.
Dear all girls, we need your help. We need your help in erasing the stigma surrounding mental health, depression, stress, and anxiety. With your assistance, we can create a world where nobody walks alone. We can create an atmosphere where people feel safe enough and comfortable enough to seek help. Sometimes, when we feel our worst, we choose to go through it alone. It is our responsibility to clear the air about mental illness. We need to change the shame because talking to a therapist isn't weird, it's normal. It's natural even to want somebody objective to talk to advise you, to be there for you. We need to change the stigma because too many are battling on their own, and because for many, suicide is still an option. With proper education and services, we can help those who can't help themselves, and we can help each other. So, we need you to join us in our cause of eradicating the stigma of mental illness and bringing hope for our fellow girls into light. You are not alone. According to Mental Health America, the rate of youth with severe depression increased from 5.9% in 2012 to 8.2% in 2015. Even with severe depression, 76% of youth are left with insufficient treatment. Over 1.7 million youth are facing major depression and are not receiving treatment, which is enough to fill every Major League Baseball stadium on the East Coast twice. According to The Telegraph, 1 in 10 girls are being referred for specialist mental help. Just know, you are not alone. Mental health issues exist everywhere. We know that you deal with a lot on a day-to-day basis. We know that sometimes you feel like you can't fight or you can't love yourself, but always remember that you are enough. We're writing this letter to remind you that you are strong and more than capable to fight through your battles. We understand that everything hurts, but everything can heal with time. We're also here to tell you that it's okay to feel sad. It's okay to feel emotions because that shows that you are human with the ability to feel things. You are loved, you are valued. This life you have is worth living. You are and will always be glorious. You are strong, smart, and bold. You can absolutely overcome anything that you are going through. Don't think about checking out of the battle. You are strong enough to get through this. You have support from your Girls Inc. staff members and community, and we love you dearly. Your brave, powerful soul is inspiring. This world can be too dark to dream in color. However, you can bring that color back. You are 1 in a billion girls who is not sorry for burning too brightly. Sincerely, Girls Inc., Girls Action Network.
Excellent. Thank you, Ani. That was wonderful. Appreciate it.
Great.
Thank you. Hazel, did you want to add anything?
She brought a gift for all of you.
That's nice.
Nice.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Hazel. Appreciate it very much. Thank you. Thank you. Colleagues, Commissioner Daly.
Yes, I want to read the Girls Inc. Bill of Rights into the record.
It's our favorite.
Yeah. Number 1, girls have the right to be themselves and to resist gender stereotypes. 2, girls have the right to express themselves with originality and enthusiasm. 3, girls have the right to take risks, to strive freely, and to take pride in success. 4, girls have the right to accept and appreciate their bodies. 5, girls have the right to have confidence in themselves and be safe in the world. 6, girls have the right to prepare for interesting work and economic independence. And I just want to thank you for your work. I would have greatly benefited from an organization like Girls Inc. as a teenager. I turned out okay, but it was a really long, difficult path, and I think you're doing amazing work. Thank you. And thank you guys for being here today.
Thank you.
Can I ask, what's the age range in the organization?
So nationally, we serve girls beginning at age 6 all the way through 18. And here in the Portland area, we do focus on predominantly age 8 through 18, with some schools asking us to start at younger ages because the issues that are affecting girls increasingly are working their way at earlier ages.
That's terrific. Thank you.
We appreciate your being here. Would you mind if we had a photograph?
We
with
would
the
love that. Thank you.
proclamation?
Okay.
Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much. Thanks, Austin. Thank you, Hazel. Go back.
Okay.
That's the problem, is we just go back here, we set it. They're right in the center, right in front of the center. Yep, all the way in the middle. There you go.
You ready? 1, 2, 3. Right here, this camera. 1, 2, 3. Perfect.
All right, Siobhan, we're going to be comparing photographs.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Hazel.
Thanks for being here. That was great.
Thanks, Ani. Appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Yeah, I was actually.
Thank you for the gift.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, so that completes the times. All right, to the regular agenda, item 447, please.
Vacate portions of Southwest Hall Street, Southwest Lincoln Street, Southwest Grant Street, and Southwest Sherman Street at Southwest NATO Parkway, subject to certain conditions and reservations.
Commissioner Saltzman.
I will turn it over to staff for presentation.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners. I'm Carl Aruda, right-of-way agent with the Bureau of Transportation. This is a street vacation ordinance currently before you, which was initiated by PBOT in cooperation with the Oregon Department of Transportation. PBOT and ODOT own several parcels of land along Southwest NATO Parkway in downtown, just north of I-405. And this land was previously used as a portion of the Harbor Drive Highway, which is also Highway 99. And as you may recall or know, that highway was the highway that was removed to allow for the creation of Waterfront Park and other redevelopment. And so this is part of the route of where that highway previously traveled. So several years ago, PBOT determined that these portions of Hall, Lincoln, Grant, and Sherman Streets had not been vacated as previously was thought. So they are still public rights of way. And PBOT and ODOT own the land in between the street areas.
and they are no longer needed for street purposes, and so vacation of these streets will allow for future development projects.
While you're on that slide, though, it looks like on the Lincoln Street one, it's over the street. Is that not
Yes, so that is actually the Orange Line light rail, and so on the most of that Lincoln Street area for vacation, there's already an agreement with TriMet to transfer most of that piece of Lincoln Street and a little piece of the area north to TriMet. That was an agreement between the city and TriMet back when everyone thought that had already been vacated. And so anyway, so that piece will be deeded to TriMet because TriMet wanted to own that land underneath their structure there.
Thank you.
And then the piece of Hall Street will revert wholly to ODOT because they own the land immediately north and south of that little piece of Hall Street. And then the pieces of Grant and Sherman will revert to joint ownership of ODOT and PBOT. PBOT has no specific plans for Grant and Sherman right now. As I said, most of that Lincoln Street area will go to TriMet. As part of the process, in addition to working with ODOT on this, we contacted the usual city bureaus and outside agencies and utilities for comments. PBOT development review folks asked for walkway easements along Lincoln Street and Grant Street, and those have already been reserved. And so those will maintain pedestrian connectivity in case the land is ever sold or transferred. Along Grant and Sherman Street, there are sewer lines, and so BES asked for sewer easement reservations in those areas, and again, those have already been reserved. So as part of this process, those documents were already negotiated, signed, and recorded jointly between the city and ODOT with input with the city attorney and the Attorney General's office. And so since ODOT was involved, everyone thought it was better to get those documents negotiated and completed in advance. The one last little thing is that after this is done, PBOT will issue a permit to TriMet for a storm drain under the Orange Line structure there that they constructed to facilitate stormwater drainage. And so after that is transferred, some of it will still be on city-owned land, and so they will get a permit. So there's a few photos here. So this is the Hall Street area, and so there's not much street access through there right now. It's mainly a little valley sort of between Nadeau and Harrison Street there. Lincoln Street, again, as I said, most of it is the Orange Line structure there. And then Grant Street down here, the piece that we're vacating is the undeveloped grassy and dirt area. The street vacation ends before you get to the paved street and the cul-de-sac. That will remain as public street. And then the Sherman Street piece, again, it's a grassy, gravelly area that is no longer having any transportation uses. And I'll be happy to take any questions.
So I have a couple of questions. I think I was on council when we passed ordinance 184517, but can you remind me, Carla, are we going to pull up the, are you going to, can you remind me, was the proposed transfer of property in consideration for the city's local match?
Yes, I believe that's correct.
You need to put the photo up there. Thanks.
Okay.
Or turn it off so we can see you.
Oh, should I close out this, Carla? Is that what you?
Yeah, we'll bring it back to you now.
Is the slide you're trying to see?
No, just the screen was black. It was dark. There we go. So was the intent here to to serve, these properties were to serve as the city's, partially to serve as the city's match for that, for the orange
Part of the
line?
match, right, yeah, so the value of the deeded land was, I think, included in the city's match, the city's contribution to the Orange Line project.
So that much I get. To what extent did we reserve any continuing role in terms of how the land is developed?
You mean outside of the Orange Line
Yeah, I
surplus
mean,
process?
the in-kind portion, I'm guessing is as much a formality as it is an artifice. So we've done that, but the land, if it's to be developed, how do we ensure that any future development is consistent with what the city jointly with ODOT believes is in the best interest for that neighborhood?
Right. Well, I mean, before anything happens with the land, it would go through the city's administrative surplus process rules of whether it would be transferred, to another city bureau or ODOT or a private owner. And I don't think there are no specific plans for any of the land right now.
I don't see anything in the ordinance which suggests it goes to our surplus property designation. It just seems
No.
like we're vacating property because we are, in a sense, transferring this property to some of this property to ODOT.
Well, the Lincoln Street piece would be going, to TriMet, and then the other pieces of land are land that we thought had been vacated and has not been vacated. And so the hall piece is the one piece that would be going, to our understanding, solely to ODOT, because they happen to own the land immediately north and south of Hall Street up there. The other pieces will be jointly owned. So anything that happens with the remnants of Grant and Sherman Street will be a conversation between the city and ODOT and their surplus processes.
I see. And have any of our partners stated their intent for how they may develop or dispose of any of these properties?
No, the only interest that we've had relating to that is from the international school, which I think they submitted some written testimony, and they may be here to offer public comments also. But they have mentioned to PBOT several times that they would be interested in purchasing some of the vacant land next to their school property. But other than that, I don't know of any current interest from other bureaus or agencies.
Okay, thank you.
Very good. Is there any public testimony on this item, Carla?
Yes, we've had 2 people sign up,
Very good.
Catherine Simmons and Veronica Bernier.
Good morning, campers. It's about time for the Rose Festival to launch again. I just love this time of the year.
I'm sorry, would you mind just stating your name for the record, please?
Oh, you certainly may.
Thank you.
Excuse me. Let me put this down. Okay. Hi, I'm Veronica Bernier from Portland State University, Public Health and Safety, graduate 2005, and a dedicated MICU nurse, retired, but not shy, and into the inclusionary body of the whole Portland, even as we speak. I want to bring up to you something interesting. When I came on here with former Mayor Vera Katz, an echo of the Save the Trees Foundation said this about that. We need to save the trees, number one. Dan Salzman says, call before you cut. And I said, because I like hanging out at Starbucks, call before you cut, but also let's keep the West End soft as it comes to mind, soft in the approach, soft in traffic, and a little less concrete and steel. Because of that, I know the roads, how people come in. We've watched traffic, 6th Avenue Suites Hotel, way over in the distance there. We watch that traffic pattern all the time. But I wanted to show you something, this. This is a bingo. Bingo's got it. This is Friendly House's response to all that we're talking about. They put the bingo on the map. Bingo means that Friendly House will be there watching too. And I'm speaking as a person from Friendly House We need to stay friendly and keep our borders open and affirming. And I think we need to really, really, really slow down on progress here. Help the people that are homeless right now. That's our biggest issue. Building, yes, we are pro-building, but we cannot stop. Now, the last thing I have to say about this is St. Mary's. The lady wrote me a note. That's Sister Gail Berkey Kingsley. She's from a Catholic church. The Catholic Church is pro-growth. They're also for the youth that just came up here. Very, very pro-girl growth. At a CYO dinner, a spaghetti dinner recently, they all voted to respect our mayor and his progress. And Commissioner Salzman was given kudos, and Commissioner Nick Fish for supporting the young girls. Girl Scouts Amanda Fritz was giving kudos, and also they couldn't remember how to spell Chloe's name, but I can't either. I'm kidding, Chloe. You're over there, not smiling. But I know how to spell it. I just need glasses. When you need glasses to see, I can spell pretty well. I think it's an interesting name, and I support that too. This is a filibuster. Keep those gates open. The world's safe for democracy. Okay, and we're still there pitching it as Red Cross DATS, DATS. If something happens, we'll be there before you get there. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're listening.
Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Catherine Simons, and I speak to you on behalf of the International School as both a senior administrator and as a parent of 3 students. Joining me is our head of school, Robert Woods.
Morning.
The International School is an independent school whose campus is located completely within the affected area boundary between Southwest Carruthers, Southwest Grant, and Naito Streets. You can see Exhibit A. We have a current enrollment of approximately 420 preschool and elementary students, ages 3 through 11. Our mission is to foster global citizens. We offer an international baccalaureate approach and full language immersion programs in Chinese, Spanish, and Japanese. We were founded in 1990, and our campus has been in the current location for 26 years, since 1992. As a result of our time in this area, we have the distinction of being the owner of the largest assemblage of privately owned parcels of land between Southwest Carruthers and Southwest Grant. We as a school are not opposed to this proposed street vacation to consolidate city and ODOT property. However, we do request that we are part of the conversation moving forward. Any change in land use will have a direct impact upon our school community. On a daily basis, 420 students travel both to and from campus for morning drop-off and afternoon dismissal periods. Our young students are outside daily as they move between buildings and play on playgrounds directly adjacent to the consolidation areas. Keeping the safety, traffic impacts, and overall well-being of our school children in mind, we therefore request to have a voice in land use planning and decisions that are adjacent to our campus. We would also like to publicly express our interest in having the right to purchase surplus land within the affected area boundary, especially those parcels that are adjacent to our school's property. We have long taken stewardship over those land parcels. In 2009, we obtained a permit to occupy or perform operations upon a state highway on the ODOT parcels. In 2016, we entered into a partnership with Friends of River Place in accordance with a PBOT adopted a landscape agreement that includes the entire affected area and beyond, as well as an ODOT adopt a highway agreement in 2017. We perform landscaping, cleanup, and safety reporting activities on those parcels multiple times a week. We have been active caretakers of those parcels and therefore request the first right to purchase any surplus land adjacent to our privately owned parcels if or when they become available through the city's surplus process. Finally, we wish to request that the City of Portland review its policies of notification for the Planning and Sustainability Commission hearings and notifications to the private property owners surrounding city-initiated street vacations. Our school believes that global citizenship begins at home. We desire to be good partners and neighbors within the city and share your vision for a Portland that supports long-term sustainability and fosters well-being and happiness for all of its residents. We look forward to collaborating with you to help meet our shared goals. Thank you for your time.
Very good. Thank you for being here. And I think your request with regard to being in the loop is a very reasonable one as the immediate commercial abutter. I did have one question that your testimony raised. Did the Planning and Sustainability Commission not notify the international school? You said we needed to do something differently around notifications. I'm wondering if you could give me one more sentence or two on that.
Apparently, they sent us a notice quite recently. I don't know what the letter is. You might have it. And then we had apparently sent some sort of notice in 2016, but we do not have record of receipt of that notice.
Okay. Very good. Yes.
If I can answer that question, D.
Yeah.
Walker, right-of-way acquisition. So I oversee the street vacation program, and so pursuant to our city policy and practice, state statute requires us to do notifications for city council hearing, but not Planning and Sustainability Commission hearings. I've recently reached out and talked to Planning Commission at one of our last meetings and have talked to them based on her comment. Have talked to them about the possibility of doing notifications for the Planning and Sustainability Commission hearing as well. So I'm actually setting up a meeting with Sandra and Julie Ocken to kind of talk about how that would work and what it would look like and who would send out notifications. So it's something that I'm looking into.
Great. I appreciate that. Commissioner Fritz?
Don't you send out notice to the neighborhood association before the planning commission hearing?
We send out, in our process up front, when we do the formal notification, when we send out to other bureaus, it also goes out to the neighborhood association, the district coalition, and any business association in that area as well. So yes, they all get upfront notices right away. Under city initiated, because the petition phase for collecting neighborhood signatures is bypassed, we do notifications at the end of the process for when the city council hearing is. So even though we go to planning commission, we don't do notifications twice. So that's what we're looking into is should we and would it be good to do notifications twice to the people in the affected area, once upon planning commission hearing, and then again, we would do it again for city council. We always have to do city council because that's state driven, but the planning commission we could do also.
Right. My preference would be that even though you don't need signatures if everything around is city-owned, that you do the same notification to the nearby property owners that you do if it was a private property owner.
Right. So if we add notifications for the planning commission hearing, Planning and Sustainability Commission hearing, that would give them notification a lot sooner.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you for doing that, and thank you for raising the issue. The last thing we want to do is have 450 families freaking out, thinking something's amiss and that they're not included in it. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate your bringing that to our attention as well.
And then I assume in answer to the other question that if it was declared surplus, that it would follow the city's surplus property regulations as far as who gets offered which first. I don't believe that there's anything in there that gives any particular party a right of first refusal other than government entities, because part of that is getting highest and best value for whichever entity owns it. But certainly you would get notification of that, I would assume.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Colleagues, anything more before I move this? Very good. This is the first reading of a non-emergency ordinance. It moves to second reading. Next item, please, is item 448. This is a second reading.
Authorize a contract with Parametrics, Inc. for professional engineering services for the Lombard Pump Station upgrade, project number E10920, in the amount of $959,746.
Colleagues, this is a second reading of an ordinance. During the first reading, we took testimony and had a presentation. Is there any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Fish.
Aye.
Saltzman.
Aye.
Udaly.
Aye.
Fritz.
Aye.
Wheeler.
Aye. Ordinance is adopted. Item 449, also a second reading.
Vacate a portion of Southeast Claiborne Street, east of Southeast 122nd Avenue, subject to certain conditions and reservations.
Any further issues here, colleagues? Please call the roll, Carla.
Fish.
Aye.
Saltzman.
Aye.
Udaly.
Aye.
Fritz.
Aye.
Wheeler.
Aye. The ordinance is adopted. Item 450, please.
Amend the City of Portland Employee Benefits Program and the City of Portland Health Reimbursement Account Plan document to reflect necessary plan design changes as recommended by the Labor Management Benefits Committee and as administratively required by the Bureau of Human Resources for the city self-insured and insured plan offerings beginning July 1, 2018.
Colleagues, while the plan documents represent the legal requirements of the health plan and the health reimbursement account, by approving this ordinance, we're also approving plan design changes recommended by the Labor Management Benefits Committee and for administrative requirements which BHR and the Benefits Office are responsible to fulfill. We obviously have Kathy Bless here. She is the Health and Financial Benefits Manager. Good morning.
Good morning, Mayor Wheeler and Commissioners. I am Kathy Bless, Health and Financial Benefits Manager, and I'm here this morning to actually talk about two ordinances, but we'll start first with item 450 and amending the health plan documents for the new plan year beginning July 18th. Within the, as Mayor Wheeler stated, the plan documents are just the legal framework as we do business in a health plan. But I wanted to call attention to the actual plan design changes moving forward this year for July 1. And these are recommendations by the Labor Management Benefits Committee. The first one would be lowering the city's annual out-of-pocket maximum under the city core plan from its current $3,000 per person to $1,800 per person. We think that this is a significant savings and benefit enhancement to employees. We had originally put in place a much higher out-of-pocket maximum because of all of the ACA requirements, which required that health plans include co-pays, deductibles, co-insurance, prescription drug medications within those out-of-pocket maximums. We, as the LMBC committee had recommended initially a $3,500 out-of-pocket max. We've lowered that previously to the $3,000. And now we'd like to dial it back to where we had originally had it at the $1,800. We really built too much capacity in that, and the added cost didn't impact the plan as we had originally anticipated. So I think this is an important benefit. Also, implementing the Smart 90 program within Express Scripts. We currently offer a much broader network in allowing a retail 90-day prescription refill. This narrows the 90-day refill prescription benefit to most of the grocery store chains. It impacts very few individuals and prescriptions, and it provides greater discounts. So employees benefit from that, as does the city. We also will waive any of the co-insurance for inpatient chemical and alcohol substance abuse. We think that this is also important given the opioid crisis and want to support employees in that way if they need treatment. We also are changing the way in which some infusion therapies are provided. There is this was a recommendation through the health plan, and it allows a much greater savings for some very specific medications that require infusion at hospitals. Now those can be provided in-home, much more comfortable for the patient, much less cost for the patient and the city. We'd also increase the orthodontia benefit slightly to keep up with the times and the cost of orthodontia, both on the city self-funded plan and under Kaiser. And then Kaiser's adding has offered to add a dental implant coverage, which it had not previously covered. There are no other recommendations the LMBC committee could agree to regarding the Kaiser Health Plan. The Kaiser plan costs will increase by 7% for the 2018-19 plan year and is the most expensive plan for all of the non-PPA tiers and groups. The LMBC will need to work toward a solution that addresses the rising cost of this plan should they continue. We'll definitely take that on as a committee in the coming months. The city core plan available to all benefit eligible employees except the PPA will increase by 2.34%. The overall non-police city increase, combining the Kaiser, the city core plan rates, and excluding the PPA, is 3.41%. The self-funded city net plan that is available just to the sworn police and is a self-funded plan will decrease by 3%. And there is no material increases to dental or vision plans. Based on these final health premium costs and self-funded rates, the citywide benefit increase is about 2.34%, which would save the general fund about $1.5 million, and the entire city an additional $200,000 for a total of $1.7 million. These savings represent the difference between the current budget load at 4% and the finalized rates.
Could you please say that whole sentence again, because I think it's really important.
Absolutely. Based upon the final premium costs and self-funded rates, the citywide benefit increase is about 2.34%, which saves the general fund about $1.5 million, and the entire city an additional $200,000 for a total of $1.7 million.
It's music to my ears. I could listen to that all day.
Most of it's music to mine too.
And it's not a new song from Kathy Bliss. I'm really very, very impressed. And this is at a time that what kind of increases are we seeing nationwide in insurance costs?
Very large increases. Some are double digit, and everyone is struggling anywhere between 7 and 10%. Most of the savings came from the 3% decrease in the PPA rates. The general fund, the police bureau absorbing most of those savings. So, last, I want to take a moment to talk about the preventive care initiative. Over 98% of city employees met the preventive care initiative standard and chose to seek care. The success of this rollout is attributed to Kaiser, MODA, and Aon for their collaboration, assistance, and advocacy, as well as the dedicated benefits staff and each union. The unions have worked very hard to protect their members, ensuring members received the required services and were not impacted by higher premium shares. The Preventive Care Initiative's goal is to ensure employees establish relationships with a primary care provider to maintain and monitor risk factors or to address health issues early so they don't turn into complex chronic conditions impacting an employee's well-being and their quality of life. I have heard from many employees over the past 6 months who were glad they got the nudge to go see the doctor and are working on maintaining their health. Healthy Foundations and City Strong continue to be impactful programs working to support employees and their families as they address health concerns. Lastly, the health operating fund budgets include appropriations in support of these health plan costs associated with this ordinance, and I ask your support in authorizing this ordinance, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Colleagues, Commissioner Saltzman?
Could you explain that prescription benefit thing in
Sure.
lay language, please?
Currently, you can get a 30-day supply prescription anywhere. And pretty much right now, you could get a 90-day supply of maintenance medications anywhere. So July 1, we're narrowing where you can get a 90-day supply of pharmacies at retail. And really, it's that you can't use a CVS pharmacy, which would be Target, and you can't use Walgreens. but you can use pretty much everything else. So Safeway, Costco, Fred Meyer, Rite Aid, Albertsons.
Okay.
Can you also use, sorry.
Well, I just wanted to just echo a concern I've had personally with Express Scripts. I find them practicing medicine or trying to practice medicine. And I assume they don't have licensed physicians providing them advice, but in the way they suggest to me that, have you tried this, or should you try this? Please go to your doctor and ask for this. You know, I have a doctor, I talk to the doctor makes a prescription. I don't really appreciate the secondary, tertiary line of questioning, which results often in delay of weeks in getting the prescription filled, and the prescription only gets filled because I go to battle and my doctor goes to battle. So I'm really kind of concerned about they are putting their judgments between me and my physician. And I'd like you to take that concern to them, and I'd like to know what their response is.
I absolutely will take that concern to them. I'd like to address it a little bit.
Sure.
So when we moved to Express Scripts, we adopted a formulary. So it is a closed group of medications that offer the city the best discounts. So it helps the city and it helps plan participants. They also manage the formulary. So when new medications come in, they may change the tier from a brand name to a non-preferred medication. So they manage that formulary throughout the year. So when those changes happen, it can be impactful to an individual person. Some of the medications also, because of their side effects or because of their cost, require prior authorization. And so there is a criteria that needs to be met for those medications. Express Scripts does have clinical pharmacists and medical directors as part of their program. So it is science-based as they make their decisions. However, I do understand when it's impacting you directly that you don't care.
Well, I would say also, I mean, I have no
Right.
problem with the prior authorization, but it shouldn't be associated every time I get a refill. And that's the game played, though. is
I
they
would
want
agree
you
with that.
They want to drag it out, and so you will give up.
And so I see the comments really as how customers are treated, right? And that I will absolutely take back and make sure that we get back to you directly.
Okay, thank you.
Okay?
Commissioner Daly?
Oh, I was just curious if they would still be able to use independent pharmacies.
Yes.
Okay.
The ones that they can currently access, yes, they just would get a 30-day supply, not a 90-day supply.
Okay, thanks.
Very good. Is there public testimony on this item, Carla?
Veronica Bernier signed up, but I believe she left.
Very good. Please call the roll.
Fish.
Thank you for your good work. Aye.
Saltzman.
Yeah, this sounds like a very good package, and cost increases less than what we projected, which is, I assume, where we're getting our savings that way. So good work. Aye.
You, Daly.
Aye.
Fritz.
Thank you, Kathy Blatz, for your ongoing great work on this. And again, over several years, the city has done far better than national providers and insurance systems in keeping costs contained. And this year we have this innovative preventative care initiative, which former Bureau of Human Resources Director Anna Canwit spearheaded and insisted upon in all of the union contracts, that says that if employees don't want to get a preventative healthcare checkup once every 2 years, they will pay 90%, they will pay 10% of their premium, the city pays 90. If they get that minimal checkup, then it remains at 95.5. And I'm delighted that 98% of city employees have chosen to do that. And with a couple of months to go, I think we were at something like 70% or 80%, and there was an extension. So thank you for your managing that process, thanks not only to the providers and to the benefits department, but also to the unions. And certainly my bureau director and other staff were instructed to announce it multiple times so that people knew that we really were serious. So getting to 98% is what we were expecting and hoping for. And now we have to keep doing that, which is in the taxpayer's best interest, because preventative care helps find things when they are both treatable and treatable at less expense. And so I encourage everybody who's watching this, who's thinking to themselves, perhaps I haven't been for a checkup in 2 years, to invest in that so that you too can be part of cost sharing and cost savings. Thank you again, Kathy. Bless. Aye.
Wheeler.
Improved benefits, decreased cost escalation, more people taking advantage of it. All good. I vote aye. The ordinance is adopted. Thank you. Good work.
Thanks.
Next item, please. 451.
Authorize agreement between WageWorks, Inc. and the Bureau of Human Resources for flexible spending account, self-pay plan participant direct billing, and health reimbursement claims services and administration beginning June 1, 2018.
Colleagues, this ordinance authorizes a new vendor for flexible spending accounts, FSAs. They are voluntary accounts employees can elect during an annual enrollment process. Employees can elect to participate in the medical FSA, the dependent care FSA, or they can participate in both. FSA accounts allow employees to set aside money from their paychecks on a pre-tax basis to pay for out-of-pocket medical expenses, or to set aside money on a pre-tax basis to reimburse eligible daycare expenses for qualifying dependents while the employee works. This contract will also allow retired or terminated employees who purchase health care coverage from the city to track the payment of their monthly premiums online. And again, we have Health and Financial Benefits Manager Kathy Bless here to discuss this. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. This is a new flexible spending account contract with WageWorks. Benefit Help Solutions has been the city's prior contract as an FSA vendor for many years. There had been shared concerns with regard to their service. We went and issued an RFP, and WageWorks was the selected new FSA vendor beginning July 1 of 2018, the upcoming plan year. Employees will be able to submit claims reimbursement requests in many ways under the new vendor. They can submit a paper form with documentation. They can pay a provider directly from a WageWorks online portal. They can load a mobile app, take a picture of their documentation, and upload it so that WageWorks can adjudicate the claim. And employees will be issued a new WageWorks MasterCard effective for July 1. So we're excited about all the new functionality and their web presence and their technology associated with making flexible spending accounts easier. As you may know or may not know, the federal government allowed employees or participants of FSA to carry over money from year to year. It's a rollover of up to $500, so it really minimizes what an employee puts at risk by participating in flexible spending accounts. And so we look forward to having a new vendor and ensuring that folks really understand how to use the plan and the offering so that they don't put money at risk. The not-to-exceed amount in this contract is quite high. It's $19 million over a 5-year contract period. SAP requires that all of the monies within the contract are represented within the not-to-exceed limit, but it is important to note that all but a small amount of this total is employee contributions. So the city will pay WageWorks administrative fees for the adjudication of claims and services, and we will pay anywhere from $3.25 to $4.75 each month per participant, depending on the services. Over a 5-year period of time, that amounts to about $550,000, so a little over $100,000 per year of the $19 million. The remainder of the dollars are employee elections, and which are expected to be about $3.5 million per year over the contract period. Again, the Health Operating Fund includes the appropriations in support of these administrative costs for the employee-funded program. And I ask support in authorizing this ordinance, emergency ordinance, and I'm happy to answer questions that you may have.
Colleagues?
So
Commissioner
Kathy,
Fish?
first of all, thank you for digging deep into this. You and I have had a number of conversations because I opted out. I'm on my wife's policy at Portland State, and so I have a flexible spending account that allows me to cover a portion of my unreimbursed medical expenses.
Yes.
My experience with the previous vendor was frustrating. I know you heard from a lot of us. And one of the things that was frustrating is after you submitted your claim, it was typical to get an email that contained a lot of legal gobbledygook explaining why your claim was insufficient without much helpful guidance as to how to cure the problem. And it just seemed like it was designed to wear you down and not solve the problem. So I'm looking forward to this new agreement. It sounds like you've fixed a number of problems at the front end, making it as easy as possible to submit claims. But I think the proof will be in the pudding in terms of how they resolve claims. And what I'm hoping is, instead of extensive boilerplate explaining why they can't resolve the claim, I hope we get something that's more encouraging and positive about what's missing in order to process the claim. Because I have found from time to time the old vendor set up a system to wear you out. And I spent an inordinate amount of time trying to figure out what was missing. So that piece of customer service, in keeping with what Dan said in another context, is very important to me. That we get plain English responses and that it not be just a denial function, but it be a, no but function that says, here's what we need to actually process your claim. Because life is short and we just don't, most of us don't have the time to endlessly go back and forth with these vendors. So my experience was maybe an anomaly, but it was so bad that I would welcome any new vendor. But knowing the care and time you put into this, I have a feeling this is going to be a really significant improvement. So thank you for that.
Yeah, we are attempting to make it nearly foolproof. So we are working with our vendors to send claim files so that as online claims come in, they will be able to auto-adjudicate with the claims information that they have available to them. And the new functionality of actually being able to go in and send a payment directly to a provider, I think will also help eliminate some of that back and forth.
Yeah, and I'm just reminded of one example that illustrates the problem. Rather than getting an email that has page after page of gobbledygook saying the claim is denied and then citing all this code, I think I'll give you an example of where a claim was denied and a simple plain English response would have been more helpful. And that's where the bill that I submitted, which I got from the provider, did not have all the dates of service on the bill. Now, sometimes that's a function of which bill you submit. The reminder bills often don't have all the dates of service, an earlier bill does. And really, it would just be so much easier if someone said, please send us the first bill, which includes dates of service, so we can match up the dates and verify, rather than page after page of gobbledygook that was almost impossible to decipher. And I'm smart enough to know that if someone says you're missing dates of service, then I'll go back through my file, get that earlier bill, and submit it. So again, I remain very hopeful that this will be a more satisfactory customer experience, and I know you put a lot of time into it, so thank you.
I'm hopeful as well.
Very good. Public testimony on this item, Carla.
Let's see, I think nobody signed up.
Very good. Please call the roll.
Fish.
I enthusiastically vote aye.
Saltzman.
Good work. Aye.
Fritz.
Thank you. Aye.
Wheeler.
Aye. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Appreciate your excellent work. Item 452, I'm going to move it, but could you read it for the record, please?
Authorize a competitive solicitation and contract with the lowest responsible bidder and provide for payment for the 1900 building toilets project for an estimated $1,325,792.
Colleagues, I know that people are eagerly awaiting this particular item to come before the Portland City Council. However, I have to build some more suspense. This item will be moved to May 16th, 2018. Please call item 453.
Declare properties at the block surrounded by Northwest 3rd, Northwest Gleason, Northwest 4th, and Northwest Flanders, commonly known as Block 25, as surplus real property, and authorize the Deputy City Administrative Officer to convey the property to Prosper Portland for reuse and redevelopment purposes.
Colleagues, I'm very happy to sponsor the sale of Block 25, which is before the City Council right now. It's an important step to the city's commitment to the Old Town Chinatown community. 4 years ago, City Council approved the Old Town Chinatown Action Plan. The plan is a cross-bureau collaboration and commitment to one of the city's oldest and most historic neighborhoods, and it involved Prosper Portland, the Portland Housing Bureau, the Portland Police Bureau, and today the Office of Management and Finance. The Office of Management and Finance Facilities Services Division has declared property in the Old Town Chinatown neighborhood as, quote, excess to its needs, unquote, and would like to convey title to Prosper Portland for reuse and redevelopment purposes. For many years, this property has been used to support Northwest Natural's presence in Old Town Chinatown. I'm pleased Northwest Natural Gas has decided to stay in downtown Portland. With their relocation, Block 25 can now be redeveloped in a way that furthers the community's priorities. The property consists of 4 parcels in total, known collectively as Block 25, which are surface parking lots bounded by Northwest 3rd, Northwest Gleason, Northwest 4th, and Northwest Flanders that were acquired in 1999 as replacement parking for Northwest Natural Gas when their parking was displaced due to the city's development of the incredible Lansu Classical Chinese Garden. At the time, the city and Northwest Natural Gas entered into a 99-year ground lease and parking easement agreement, which included a provision for the city through the Portland Bureau of Transportation to manage the parking lots evenings and weekends. The ground lease and parking easement agreement will be assigned to Prosper Portland at the same time the property is conveyed to Prosper Portland. The Facility Service Division property manager will describe the process for disposition of city real property, and Prosper Portland staff will provide an update on recent and upcoming activities and developments in Old Town Chinatown, in the Old Town Chinatown neighborhood. This sale and the opportunity that unlocks complements the city's work within the area, from working with businesses along Ankeny Alley to a joint task force with the community on safety and livability to the Broadway corridor and visioning for future Union Station development and its surroundings. So today we have, it looks like Pauline Goebel from OMF, Lisa Aboif, from Prosper Portland is here as well.
Good morning, Mayor and Commissioners.
Thank you. If you could all
Great.
introduce yourselves for the record.
My name is
please.
Pauline Goebel, Property Manager in the Office of Management and Finance Facilities Services Division.
Good morning, I'm Lisa Aboif, Development Manager with Prosper Portland.
Eric Jacobson, Project Manager with Prosper Portland.
And I apologize, Eric. I just was having one of those moments as described earlier today. Thank you, all 3 of you, for being here.
Great, so I'll go ahead and start. I am here to provide a brief overview of the city's real property disposition process, which is also known as Administrative Policy 13.02. Which was followed by OMF in preparation for the disposition of the Block 25 parcels to Prosper Portland. So that process first begins with OMF internally evaluating the property and deeming it as excess to its needs. Then the Office of Management and Finance made a written recommendation to the mayor for disposition of the property, which the mayor approved. Then the Office of Management and Finance Real Property Coordinator notified other city bureaus, offices, and council offices that the property was available. And after a 21-day waiting period, no bureau or office expressed interest in the property. So then the coordinator also confirmed with the major landowning bureaus that there were no easements or infrastructure concerns such as sewer or right-of-way easements that needed to be preserved. And finally, an ordinance was brought to council and placed on regular agenda, which is why we're here today. So that's my brief overview, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Colleagues? Commissioner Fish.
On the disposition
So,
process?
so I'm looking at the map, a couple questions. There's been some conversation about the Lansu Chinese Garden at some point expanding its footprint. I'm assuming based on the location of this property that this transaction would have no bearing on any future plans they may have.
That's my understanding as well.
And is the long-term goal to demolish the old structure on this footprint, the old Blanchet building, and create a single lot, or will that remain?
I think that's a response from PD or from Prosper Portland. So
that property is owned by the Blanchet House. It's not part of this transaction, and we've been in discussions with them. We'll continue to coordinate with them over their plans for that building. We don't know exactly what their plans are for the building at this current time.
And I might have missed this, but what's the plan involving Northwest Natural going forward?
Northwest Natural has entered into a lease for a building that's currently under construction, and they'll be relocating from their current location in Old Town to the new building sometime between late 2019 and mid-2020.
So they're building on this site?
No, they're building actually just a few blocks from here.
I see.
So they're relocating into a building, an office tower downtown, and so they are both giving up their lease in Old Town Chinatown, so they'll be relocating out of Old Town Chinatown. And when that happens, it kind of terminates the parking obligation that exists on Block 25 today. So it's a surface lot today that Northwest Natural has rights to park on for a very extended lease, or we would have to replace them as a city or as Prosper Portland, and so that terminates when Northwest Natural leaves the district.
And has Prosper Portland made any preliminary determinations about possible reuse and redevelopment?
We'll talk about that. There's a whole
We still have to go over that, but we'll talk about that.
If you have any other questions about the disposition?
Okay, I apologize. Getting ahead of ourselves.
Great, thank you.
So-
You're well done.
Thank you.
Lisa, are you next?
Yeah, that sounds great. So we did want to set the context for exactly kind of in anticipation of those questions. So again, I'm Lisa Abwaf, Development Manager with Prosper Portland. And what we thought we would do is provide you with a brief kind of context and status update for what we've been doing around the Old Town Chinatown Action Plan that did come before council in 2014. So we're in year 4 and how we see Block 25 as a key opportunity for unlocking some of those commitments that we made to the community back in 2014. So next slide. So just as a reminder as to what the action plan involved, it was developed in collaboration with the Old Town Chinatown Community Association. We attend their meetings on a monthly basis, kind of have an exchange with them, provide an update on how we're implementing the action plan, and gather their input on an ongoing basis. It did make a commitment across multiple bureaus, as the mayor referenced. So it committed $57 million in Prosper Portland tax increment resources. That's divided across 2 urban renewal areas between the downtown waterfront and the River District urban renewal areas. It also committed the Housing Bureau to pilot an expanded system development charge exemption program, and it was for middle-income housing. So whereas elsewhere in the city, the SDC exemption program is available for low-income housing, in Old Town Chinatown, given that 3 out of 4 units are preserved as affordable units and that the average income in Old Town Chinatown is about $15,000, the community is really interested in new middle-income housing coming into that district, and we'll talk a little bit about how that program, we've seen that program being used. And then last but not least, I think you'll see this for the last year was actually last fiscal year. There has been a match of $30,000 over a 3-year period for a total of $90,000 to the Community Association to hire a district manager that they have used to kind of
co-market the different attributes of the community. So anything from the garden to the Nikkei Legacy Center to some of the Chinese cultural events that occur. So the community priorities that were outlined in 2014 are captured here. So again, they cover kind of a range of interests, anywhere from safety to livability issues to ensuring redevelopment of both publicly held assets at that time as well as privately held assets, an interest in parking to support the district, particularly the historic buildings that don't have parking and so are more difficult to tenant when they go to sign a lease with some of the commercial tenants, as well as making sure that we're supporting the small businesses that are in the area. Based on the fact that we are in year 4, I would call out also the community association themselves has looked to the action plan as their framing device for their priorities, and they're actually doing a relook of the action plan to kind of determine if they'd like to extend it, adjust it, et cetera. So next slide. So what we did is we took the community priorities and kind of allocated them into 3 major areas of activity. One was around neighborhood investment that involved both, at that time, PDC, but Prosper Portland properties as well as private properties. The second was around business vitality, so a lot of work that we do with small businesses as well as attracting new jobs into the district to tenant some of the buildings, and we'll walk through some of the projects that have been realized as a result of that work. And then last but not least is district livability that touches both on the role that the district manager plays as well as making sure that we're preserving the important historic and cultural attributes of Old Town Chinatown as a unique district and neighborhood within the community. So the next slide at a high level just captures what have we seen in terms of progress made on the Old Town Chinatown Action Plan since you approved it in 2014. We've actually realized over 800 new employees in that district. That's across employees from Multnomah County to PNCA to some of the software companies that have rehabbed some of the historic buildings in the area. Of that SDC waiver, 65 new middle-income units have come into the community down at First and Davis with new construction, and it does have preserved affordability at that middle-income range. We've seen preservation of multiple historic buildings, and we've seen about $2.8 million of the $57 million committed and reserved for Old Town Chinatown spent within the district, so clearly there's an opportunity for additional investment via Prosper Portland funds as we think about the future, including on Block 25. So I'll go. Then we just briefly are going to kind of touch on each of those 3 areas that the action plan outlined for our activities and investment. So around business vitality, we have made a significant amount of small business grants that have supported folks anywhere from kind of some of the larger software companies like Movell coming into the district to smaller retailers either growing or moving into the district. And then this summarizes kind of who are some of those larger employees or larger employers who have moved in. What you note in terms of the measures of success, we actually committed to the community association when we did the action plan 2 particular measures of success. So in business vitality, we committed to over the 5 years realizing 5 new retail stores and 500 new living wage jobs. Clearly, kind of the second goal is well underway to being accomplished. The first goal, we have ongoing work to do, particularly as some of the businesses have struggled within Old Town Chinatown and moved out. So we've seen new businesses, but we've also seen some businesses close in the district. The next goal is around neighborhood investment, and this is clearly where there's alignment directly with the Block 25 transaction. We've seen a significant number of historic rehabilitations, both through our grant and loan programs occurring. That includes everything from Society Hotel, that has become a really key anchor for the community, to the Erickson Fritz, which is an affordable housing project within the community, to the Overland Warehouse, which is a historic commercial building very close by to Prosper Portland's offices at 4th and Davis. Clearly, there's also a pipeline for ongoing opportunity and additional placement of the remaining tax increment resources that we committed. And that ranges from Block 25 to we own the old fire station over on Gleason, and we also own 4th and Burnside, the smaller lot at 4th and Burnside. And then we have been in discussions with private property owners for redevelopment of their properties, and the community very often will call out what's called Block 33. between 4th and 5th, Davis and Everett, that I believe has been before council as part of Central City 2035 recently as a key opportunity site for the community. And then the last goal is our district livability goal, which really focused on kind of the cultural, the historic, and kind of the community development aspects of Old Town Chinatown. We're happy to state that we've placed about $800,000 worth of community livability grants in the district, and that has supported anything from Central City Concerns Employment Access Center on Northwest 2nd that helps affordable housing residents seek a path to self-sufficiency through employment, all the way to supporting the Portland Chinatown Museum's redevelopment of property that they're purchasing at Northwest 4th and Davis, that they're actually looking to put into a permanent gallery space that celebrates Portland's Chinatown, its past, its present, and its future. And on their behalf, we would like to invite you to a soft opening that they're actually going to be hosting on June 7th during First Thursday's festivities from 4 to 8 p.m. So they are going to be the permanent housing collection telling the history of Portland's Chinatown. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Eric, who will talk a little bit more to your direct questions, Commissioner Fish, regarding kind of what do we anticipate doing with the property, what kind of redevelopment potential does it offer, et cetera.
Thank you. So on the screen, you can see the location of the property. It's about just under 27,000 square feet, so just short of 3/4 of a block. As Commissioner Fish noted, it's on the same block with the Blanchet House, both the new Blanchet House and the old Blanchet House, which is located on the northwest corner of that block. You can also see where it's located proximate to the Lansu Chinese Garden, just to the southeast, and also to the Broadway Corridor study area to the northwest. Following the transfer of title, Prosper Portland will continue to operate the property in accordance with the lease agreement with Northwest Natural, where they have rights to park during weekdays, and will continue to operate public parking weekday evenings and on weekends. As Lisa mentioned, Northwest Natural plans to relocate out of the neighborhood sometime late 2019 or mid 2020. At that time, the lease agreement will terminate, and the obligation to continue to operate it as surface parking will terminate with that. So what that does is it gives us basically 2 years, about 2 years to plan a redevelopment for that property. And we've already started the process of doing that in terms of stakeholder outreach with Old Town Chinatown Community Association, the Blanchet House, and we would continue to sort of roll that out over the next 6 to 9 months, possibly solicit a development partner, and over the course of 2019, begin to look at development opportunities and potentials for that property. We would conduct a market study to evaluate what the likely highest and best uses are for the property. And then we would also, as part of that, consider what the community association's priorities have been. And as Lisa mentioned, one of those has been market rate housing. And that's one of the areas that's sort of been unfulfilled to date in terms of the action plan. So that's something we'd be looking at, but also employment opportunities for creative office space, and possibly for district parking to support some of those older buildings that don't have surface parking or parking available for them. So that's what we would look at over the next 9 to 20 months or so, would be coming up with that development plan.
Very good. Colleagues, any questions? Carla, I'm sorry to interrupt. Is there public testimony on this item?
Yes, we have Mary Sipe.
Come on up. Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Yes, it is. Good afternoon.
My name's Mary Sipe, and I will make this brief. I'm excited about this, and I really support it. I think this is turning this over to Prosper Portland is really, I think, just the perfect answer to this. And I'm just really excited to see this opportunity to perhaps get some development in Old Town Chinatown that's much needed. I am a little curious. There was the emergency shelter plan on 4th and Hoyt that was abandoned, and I'm wondering if that piece of property is going to kind of be folded into this whole plan. I hope so. I'm really excited to hear about more housing, middle income. I'm always pushing for affordable, but we definitely need more middle income. We kind of have this gap between luxury apartments and affordable. And speaking of Prosper Portland, I just want to take this opportunity to share some news with you. Mayor Wheeler, you were at the announcement, Homer Williams and Don Mazziotti, Oregon Harbor of Hope's announcement about the Navigation Center. And I was there and shared with them my support, my experience in emergency housing when I lived in Eugene. And so I may not be at City Council every Wednesday for the next 6 months because I'm working with Oregon Harbor of Hope as their community liaison and community involvement coordinator. And I'm really excited we're really reaching out to the community to help them, to bring them in as a part of what's going to make that program a success. And I think that it has the potential, and it is the vision that it is going to become a model program. And, Prosper Portland's part in it with the property and all of that, hopefully we will put something together that will be replicated all throughout the city and who knows where.
So Mary, they have made some very good choices. Hiring you is probably the best decision they've made.
Thank you.
I'm very happy to hear that.
I'm so excited about this opportunity, and the first thing I thought of, though, is, gosh, I wonder if I'm going to be busy on Wednesday mornings, and so I'm working my schedule out so that hopefully I will be able to come, and I'll be bringing information to you periodically, I'm sure, as we progress. But this is a great move. I think turning this property over to Prosper Portland is the right thing to do. And
thank you. Commissioner Fritz.
Just in answer to your question, the 4th and Hoyt property is privately owned, so it's not
Oh,
part
it
of
is.
this.
So that's what I wasn't sure if that was or not, but yeah. Okay. Well, anyhow.
Thanks.
Way to go. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Was that all the public testimony, Carla?
Yes, Veronica left, I believe.
Very
so.
good. Please call the roll.
Fish.
I'm now been on the council long enough to remember that the last time we had a big presentation on this particular block was when it was being considered for the Bud Clark Commons. And it was a location that did not generate a lot of support within the neighborhood. And ultimately, the council settled on Block U or whatever that block is. So here we are coming full circle, and we have a chance now to activate this space. One observation about this site is that it is incredibly prominent because when you come off the bridge, it's what you see. And I'm so proud that the Blanchet House built their new building on that corner and built it to such high standards. It's a beautiful building that also serves the community very well. And the city, as I recall, bought an extra floor to make sure there was some affordable housing on that site. So now to have an opportunity to build out the rest of the site is very exciting. So I'm very pleased to support this. Aye.
Saltzman.
Well, I think many of us on the council were concerned about the impact on Old Town Chinatown of Northwest Natural's departure, just in terms of the employees being down there and their economic impact and eyes on the street. But I do think that this shows that, out of every kind of a crisis comes an opportunity. And this really is a very interesting opportunity. I think there's, I really like some of the ideas and concepts that you've outlined, and I really like your very precise listing of the benefits and the commitments that Prosper Portland and the city have made to that neighborhood. And so this sounds really promising. Aye.
Udaly.
Aye.
Fritz.
Thank you for the very clear presentation, and particularly for the update on the outcomes so far of the 2014 plan. That was good to see, and you helped tie all the context together, and so I appreciate that very much. Happy that many things are working, and it's very clear which things we have to continue to focus on. Thank you. Aye.
Wheeler.
Well, needless to say, I'm very excited about this. Thank you all for your very, very hard work. I vote aye. The ordinance is adopted. Next item, 454, I'm going to move that too, but Carla, if you could read it, please.
Authorize limited tax revenue bonds in an amount not to exceed $10.5 million to finance replacement of aging fueling system infrastructure at multiple locations across the city.
So this item is also being moved to May 16th, 2018. Next item, 455, a second reading.
verify income of subsequent homeowners receiving a property tax exemption under the Home Buyer Opportunity Limited Tax Exemption Program.
Any further discussion, colleagues? Please call the roll, Carla.
Fish.
Aye.
Saltzman.
Aye.
Udaly.
Aye.
Fritz.
Aye.
Wheeler.
I want to thank everybody who was involved in this process. I'm very optimistic about it going forward. I vote aye. The ordinance is adopted. Thank you. Next item is number 456.
Amend contract with Just Bucket Excavating, Inc. in the amount of $141,860. Accept contract as complete, release retainage, and authorize final payment.
Commissioner Fish.
Thank you, Mayor. Teresa Elliott, the Chief Engineer of the Portland Water Bureau, is here this afternoon to give us a brief presentation. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners.
Thanks for being here.
That doesn't sound like it's working, or at least my throat is not working. Sorry about that. I will be brief. Basically, this is a water main project contract where we replaced an old line that was in poor condition with a new line on Cornell Road, and parts of it were in McClary Park. We encountered a little bit more rock in the hillside than we were expecting, so we had a couple change orders. One of the change orders is in this contract, or in this ordinance package for you to approve. It was Just Bucket Excavating is a MWESB contractor that was participating in the Prime Contractor Development Program, and that's what this contract was bid under. They performed most of the work and had MWESB participation for both themselves and subcontractors of 93%. And we believe the project to be successful and ask for your acceptance of the project as complete and authorization for this change order. Thank you.
Very good. Colleagues, any questions? Any public testimony on this item?
No one signed up.
Very good. This is a first reading of a non-emergency ordinance. It moves to second reading.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Last but not least, colleagues, we had a couple of items pulled off the consent agenda. I believe it was 439 was the first one, Carla, is that correct?
Yes.
Oh, was it?
439, amend administrative rule to reflect the 2007 update to City Code Chapter 20 regarding non-park use permit applicants' right to a review of the denial of a permit.
Commissioner Fritz.
Thank you, Mayor. This is correcting it's a clarification of the code for non-park use permits that the director can approve or disapprove or deny, and currently it could be said that the appeal of that decision would come to council. Of course, we don't generally hear appeals of permits at council. It usually is the appeal is to the commissioner in charge, and that's what this ordinance clarifies.
Very good. Public testimony?
Joe Walsh pulled this, but he had to leave.
Please call the roll.
Fish.
Aye.
Saltzman.
Aye.
Udaly.
Aye.
Fritz.
Aye.
Wheeler.
Aye. The ordinance is adopted. Next item, I believe, is 441.
Reappoint Maxine Fitzpatrick, Jennifer Marisick, and Justin Wood as members to the Development Review Advisory Committee for second three-year terms.
Commissioner Udaly.
Thank you, Mayor. The Development Review Advisory Committee is a citizen advisory body representing those with interests in the outcome of policies, budgets, regulations, and procedures that affect development review processes. These are 3 reappointments, which we have decided to put on the consent agenda. But since it was pulled, I will give you a brief rundown of each person. Maxine Fitzpatrick fills the low-income housing developers position. Maxine is the Executive Director of Portland Community Reinvestment Initiatives, or PCRI, a Portland nonprofit that manages a portfolio of over 700 units of affordable housing and focuses on helping low-income families achieve stability and self-sufficiency. Jennifer, sorry, Jennifer, I'm not sure how to say your last name. I'm going to say Marsichek, which is probably wrong. My apologies. Ah, yes, okay, all right. I think I might even know where that name comes from. Anyhow, she fills the design professional's position. Jennifer has 20 years' experience in the field of architecture and is presently with Scott Edwards Architecture. Jennifer also has significant community involvement experience. Justin Wood fills the home builder's position. Justin has over 15 years' experience as a home builder with Fish Construction, no relation, and has served as an officer for both the Oregon and National Home Builders Associations. Mark Fetters from BDS is here to answer any additional questions the council may have, although I do believe the person who pulled this is now gone, and I want to extend my thanks and apology to Mark for having to unnecessarily sit here to respond to a very non-controversial item. Colleagues, do you have any questions for Mark?
None. Public testimony on this item? Call the roll.
Mr. Walsh, who pulled it, sorry.
Call the roll.
This is a report. We need a motion.
I move the
sorry.
report. Thank you.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Fish, a second from Commissioner Fritz. Please call the roll.
Fish?
Tonight, it's a stellar group of people. Mary Helen Kincaid did an exemplary job as the chair of the DRAC. I understand Justin Wood is now the chair. His father-in-law, Jeff Fish, is no relation. And I take great pleasure in pointing that out. But Justin is, in my experience, one of the bridge builders from his profession, and he's been very effective in helping the council understand the industry's perspective, so I think we're fortunate to have him. Aye.
Saltzman?
Aye.
Udaley?
Well, thank you to Maxine, Jennifer, and Justin for your continued service on the DRAC, and thank you once again, Mr. Fetters. Aye.
Fritz?
Aye.
Wheeler?
I am very happy to support these reappointments. I vote aye. The report is accepted. Last item, I believe, is 442.
Authorize additional funding for an intergovernmental agreement with Oregon Department of Environmental Quality for funding of Portland Harbor Stormwater Source Control Coordination not to exceed $90,000.
Commissioner Fish.
Mayor and colleagues, the City of Portland has been working with DEQ to develop a comprehensive stormwater management plan for the Portland Harbor. The intergovernmental agreement, first authorized in 2004, provides DEQ with resources to evaluate and control stormwater discharge from upland industrial sites. The IGA was renewed in 2016 and 2017 and will reach the authorized spending limit by June 30th of 2018. The annual cost of this agreement is estimated at $30,000.
Public testimony.
Lightning pulled this, and he has left.
Call the roll.
Fish?
Aye.
Saltzman?
Aye.
Udaley?
Aye.
Fritz?
Aye.
Wheeler?
Aye. The ordinance is adopted, and we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.